Hey everybody, welcome back to the Netherkast. On this episode, we are going to be giving essentially our dream rosters for Mortal Kombat 12. That can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people, but and each of us is gonna essentially break down why we're choosing the characters we're choosing for our specific list, and we're gonna go person by person so that way we can kind of build a picture for all of you on why we're choosing who we're choosing. We are limiting ourselves to 27 characters for the starting roster, plus a pre-order bonus for a total of 28. And then we will circle back for 6 more DLC. So, with that said, thanks everybody for tuning in. And who wants to go first? Razor?
Well, I mean, you're first on the lineup on your sheet.
That's just all of our names. I put us in order of how we became a podcast. It went me, then Temp, then Razor, then Shad. It's kind of like a
I,
daisy chain effect.
I guess that's a way to look at it. Okay, I'll go first.
Sure.
Scorpion.
Well, you're gonna list actually all of them, but you don't
Oh,
have to
all
like
right.
rattle them off. Kind of explain why you're choosing
All
each
right, all
person,
right.
and then we'll go
Well,
one by one.
in that case, if I'm doing my entire roster, it's probably good that I go first because mine is the most boring. Because if we're talking about our dream roster for MK12, my dream is that they fucking reboot again
Hmm.
because they did anyway.
Yeah,
But like, if you're gonna tell a story, I fucking despise when they don't start at the beginning.
I love your slight pause there. You're like, "Ah, am I really gonna fucking get in this again? All right."
Yeah, right, right. Like I don't know how many people are familiar with the story of that fucking mobile game they just put out, Unleashed or whatever it's called. But they basically start somewhere nebulously after MK1 or MK2, and then they proceed to make no sense at all. And I guarantee you that's exactly what'll happen every time they try to start a story in the middle. If they don't have to define what has already happened, then the story won't make any sense. You have to retell the MK1 tournament. You have to. I know a
and
lot of people don't want to see it again. 9 was only a decade ago, but I'm doing it.
and we
I'm
are
retelling. My roster is MK1 and 2.
okay. I was gonna say we are 2 minutes in, and you already sound like your voice is tired. Like you have, sir. You need
Yeah.
a cough drop and man, just can somebody get this guy what he wants for once so that way he can just not feel he has to fucking oh
All right.
man.
Here's the thing. I have put a few surprises on here because if you don't have to tell MK3, then you've got some space, some room
Sure.
to insert backstory characters and NPCs.
Right.
And when you're writing this down, I've included premiere skins. So you can just like put the name next to the name in parentheses.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely do
Okay,
that.
so first Scorpion, second is Sub-Zero, and base Sub-Zero's Kuai Liang, but he's gonna have Bihan as a premiere skin. So
Okay.
that Bihan can maybe look a little different and have one or two unique moves of his own, because Premier Skins did have slight variance in Injustice 2.
All right. I'm notating premiere skins with little asterisks.
Okay, okay. Raiden is
All
next.
right. Yep.
Then Liu Kang, Kung Lao, uh, Johnny Cage, and Johnny Cage has mocap as a premier skin. Also, you don't have to write this down. Everybody in the roster has a meat skin.
Nice.
All right. Everyone gets a
Uh,
meat skin.
right, right.
I like it.
Sonya.
Everyone is, gets to be the meat. Everyone.
Beat everyone's meat will be beat. That should
Exactly,
be a
exactly.
slogan.
That's that. Look, that's how meat works. That's what he do. That's who he be. So Sonya snacks, then Jax.
I imagine if you get the roster that you want and they tell the story that you want, finally,
Yeah,
like they do it right by you,
yeah.
you're
That's the
gonna be
thing.
like
Look,
you're gonna be like Thanos in Endgame. Like you're just like you're gonna retire to a farm.
well, no, because you're never done. Because the next one after this is everybody I actually won. All the MK4 and Deadly Alliance and Deception characters.
Okay, so this game is just laying the
Yeah, no,
groundwork properly.
this is to build a foundation. I've said for years and years and years, you can't build a house on a shaky foundation.
Sure.
You got to get the firmament right.
Right. Yeah,
Okay,
that makes
so
sense.
Kano's next, and he
Okay.
will have Jarek as a premier skin.
Okay. I like it.
And
This,
Reptile.
notwithstanding, the Jarek skin has to like come in a bundle, otherwise no one in their right mind's going to pay for it.
Yes. No, nobody's paying for Jarek. Shang Tsung is next.
So he's not your first DLC choice, is what you're saying.
No.
Okay.
Kitana and Melina. Baraka.
You mean to tell me Katana's not gonna like just have all of Melina's moves and like just have her as a premier skin?
Gosh, I thought about it. I thought about giving her the fans and the size and a boomerang and a staff and just freeing up 2 slots. But something about that, something told me people would not be satisfied by that.
Crazy.
Can you
What
imagine?
What a world. So
It's
did you
so
say
weird.
somebody after Melina? I might have missed that.
Baraka's next. Smoke. And Smoke will have Cyber Smoke as a premier skin.
My
That's fine.
man, thumbs up.
Alrighty.
All right, Jade. Noob Saibot. Ermac. Ermac will have King Jared as a premier skin.
Interesting. That's a fun
Yeah.
little call out.
Neat.
Now, are you
Snap.
sure you don't want to
actually-
have Noob come out of Ermac?
No.
Okay.
Actually, Noob Saibot will have Reiko as a premier skin.
Okay. And did I spell King Jared correctly?
There's 2 R's.
I thought so. Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I asked.
Next is Sector. And human Sector as a premier.
Okay. They didn't do any premier skins in MK11, right? Like
No, they did not.
Okay.
Unless you count DJ what's his nuts.
Oh god, the
Fucking
Sub-Zero
DJ
guy.
Vinny Vegas or whatever.
Yikes.
Ability to freeze.
You know, as much shit as we give Ronda Rousey, that guy might have given her a run for her money.
Yeah. No, there's he's in the contention.
Yeah.
It is hard to discern which pile smells a little bit stinkier.
Cyrax is next with a human Cyrax skin.
I'm a fan. Okay.
All right, next is Rain. Tremor.
Interesting. Okay.
Goro with his father King Gorbak as a skin.
All right. You're going to have to spell that. Is it like this?
It's AK at the end.
AK.
You're
Gotcha.
close.
Yeah, real close. All right, Bo Raicho. All right, this next one I'll help you spell. It's KO apostrophe ATAL. Because he's not Kotal Khan yet, and that's his real name.
Whoa.
Ooh-ah.
Take notes, NetherRealm.
See,
You
this is-
invented it.
This is the guy. See? Only you would have caught something like that. They really need a lore expert on their. I mean, I know they don't care, but it's just crazy to me that they can't just front you a check on the side for like fucking pennies,
right?
just to
Right?
give
Would they,
some
though?
insight.
They've got
Yeah,
Dom. Dom knows the lore, right?
yeah, surely he can.
It's just insane to me. I mean, how like I'm sure you would do it for a sandwich if they just like fucking if they were just like, here, look this over and make sure this makes sense. Like,
All
it's just
right,
insane to me that they don't at
I
least
don't. Yeah, they
care.
don't care. They don't care. The next one, I will help you spell again. It's Nimbus space
Mimbus.
Nimbus N.
Oh, I was about to say Mimbus doesn't ring a bell. Nimbus does.
Nimbus space Terrafaux. Nimbus Terrafaux. He's technically a new character, but he's a rumor character. He's from the olden days.
It's spelt
And
Nimbus Terrafo, but it's actually pronounced Artleen.
yes, exactly.
Now, what would you do with
and
Nimbus?
Nimbus, so if you look at the MK1 roster, there are 7 characters, and to have a tournament bracket, you know, you have 2 guys, and the round before that had 4 guys, and the round before that had 8 guys. We need
Right.
an 8th guy.
Okay.
And look, we saw in the movie that Johnny Cage's character development requires him to have a friend who dies. The whole story about him becoming serious and taking the Mortal Kombat universe seriously, he's got to watch somebody he cares about die. He
Right.
has to. That's
His
the
best friend
story.
Nimbus.
And next is Great Kung Lao.
Okay.
Okay. And my pre-order character is Kintaro.
Nice.
So in this world, now that we've got your full kind of initial roster here, in this approach you're taking, is this back in time in the Great Kung Lao's time frame? I'm assuming not,
No, no.
right?
Great Kung Lao appears in flashbacks and story mode.
Okay,
That's why he's on the roster.
gotcha.
I tried to minimize the number of characters who would be NPCs.
Right.
You're gonna see the Black Dragons hanging out with Kano, so I'm trying to get Cabal and Tremor and Jarek all in the game.
Okay.
So my DLC.
Oh wait, whoa, whoa,
Uh,
whoa, whoa, whoa.
oh,
I think we're stopping just for this right now.
okay, okay,
And then we will circle back to everyone's DLC once everyone's given their initial roster.
fair enough, fair
Just
enough.
to let it breathe a little bit. But
Yeah, yeah.
okay. Thoughts? Reactions?
I didn't even think about premiere skins. I
Yeah,
don't know
me
specifically
neither.
what I would do, but the Noobs About Reiko one's fun. I like that a lot.
Yeah, that's a good callback.
Yeah, well,
I-
they share like
it's-
2 moves already. You can probably like
It's-
squeeze that the rest of the way.
It's
It'd be-
nice, but we've been talking about this lately, that we live in this era of copy pasted moves, and I'm just such a fan of what they developed Reiko into in MK4, and like the path that they took Noob Saibot in Trilogy going forward a little bit. I would still want to keep those guys separate, though I get your reasoning.
I mean, my big difference, like you do one thing different graphically, and you can change a lot about a character. So, like, if you had okay, so for example, Noob Saibot has a move where he throws the Shadow Clone out, and the Shadow Clone goes low and does a Sub-Zero slide. You can use the same hitbox to have Raiko throw like a giant sword across the ground.
Fucking thing. The giant sword.
I
Forgot he
also
had
don't
that.
need premiere skins to play exactly like the original character. I don't think there's
Yeah.
any utility in
And
that.
here's the thing: in the next game, Raiko would have a separate slot in his own moveset. Fucking Jarek never needs to be a separate character. There's no reason to have him on a main roster. He should always be a skin for Kano.
But the
Because nobody
axe and
gives
the
a fuck about
ropes.
Jarek.
The axe and the ropes, Razor. Essential building blocks of his personality.
No, I'm going back to Jarek shoots laser beams out of his fucking.
What if laser beams out of the eyes, add an axe, add a rope, and all the fatalities ever?
He
That makes a great character.
He has Kano's knife toss, but the knife is a fucking glaive. Done.
Ooh.
You know, he will lose the grab you and choke you by the neck and get throw himself backwards and do a ground pound instead.
I mean,
You
in
know, it's
Smash,
like
Echo Fighters don't play exactly like their counterpart.
exactly.
Right.
These are echo fighters. That's should be easy to do.
Yeah, I mean, logistically, right? They're just a different skin and then doing slight modifications to specials that are already there.
Yeah,
Whether it
it's the
ramping up
equivalent of having a
speed or
variation.
yeah.
It's just a variation with a skin attached.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense to me. I mean, they did it obviously with Injustice, but without the, the change aspect of it, but still, I agree. It's a good way to maximize, your assets, I guess.
Yeah,
Did the Premier skins have the same supers? I can't remember.
I think so.
they did.
Oh,
But
okay.
I would actually like if I was making a game, like this isn't part of the episode, but if I was making a game, my dream game, every character would have like 2 supers. You could choose which one you use.
Right.
Like you equip them or whatever, just so you're not seeing the same one over and over and over again for 4 fucking years.
One of the
Yeah.
things that made Street Fighter 3 fresh at the time.
Right?
Alrighty, and then you said, just to kind of circle back, so this is just laying the foundation. You're going to be telling Mortal Kombat 1 and 2, correct? With some
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat 3 then? Or no?
My DLC is MK3 themed.
Okay,
I tried to squeeze as many characters as I could in there.
sure.
In
Okay.
order to have like in the equivalent to Aftermath would be MK3 as a DLC story mode.
Okay, that would be cool. Okay, I
Yeah.
see where you're going. All right, well, then we'll
I
touch
should
upon
also
that.
I should also point out Shao Kahn is unplayable as the boss of my game. He's
Okay.
not on the roster, but he's in there.
Okay, cool. Alrighty. I can go next. So for me, starting off, now the logic for me going into this was less kind of setting a foundation and story and so on and so forth. And mine was purely based on kind of where we are now, not so much pie in the sky, but I guess the idea of they're going to be hopefully putting in more 3D era characters. So I have no idea what the hell the story is going to look like for this. I'll just say that right now. Hopefully it makes any sort of sense. I'll say I was originally wanting to go like way back to the Great Kung Lao times and only do like a thematic story. But then when I kind of hit a wall when it's like a lot of these characters wouldn't be able to exist back then unless you did like some fuckery with the timeline and now they exist back then or they got drugged back there. But then it's like, I don't necessarily think that's an ideal state either. So this is more of just purely going off of fan demand and desires from that side of things for the roster. That being said, I had to make a lot of popular cuts for mine because I held myself of the 28 that were allotted. That's including the pre-order bonus. I only wanted half of them, so 14. I only wanted about 14 of them to be like trilogy era characters or even modern, but like basically only half of them are ones that we've seen a bajillion times. The other half are going to be ones that are very fresh faces. So that being said, first up I have is Liu Kang. Then I have Sub-Zero. And that would be Kwai as well. Kuai Yang. And then Scorpion. Then I go with a little bit of like a partner pattern here in terms of like, you can't have this without this, or I mean, you could, but I like sticking with little partnerships when it comes to the roster. I feel like a lot of the best rosters have done that. I'm thinking like MK3 and MK2, etc., where you have a counterpart to that character. That being said, I'm going to jump to Katana for number 4. Then number 5, do Melina. I think I've learned that we can't have a game without Melina at this point, just for all of our safety. As much as I don't like adhering to that logic, like I said, I'm going to please as many people as possible. So, Katana, Melina, we got it there. Plus, she was just DLC, so I don't want to repeat DLC like Rain was. I don't think that would be great either. So, we're going to have her starting there. Then we're going to go to Reptile because he shouldn't be sitting out more than one game. Like, he definitely shouldn't be sitting 2 in a row. So we'll throw in Reptile. And I also subscribe to the Django mindset of the more ninjas, the better. So that's why we're getting Katana, Melina, Reptile. So yeah, let's see that green boy back in the game. And then we're going to also have Ermac, Smoke, Cyrax, and Sector. Obviously, I love the cyborgs along with the ninjas. I looking back at all of my favorite rosters, they've included these guys. Maybe not all of them, but a majority of them. Like, I mean, I'm talking about like I love Cyrax in Deadly Alliance, and in Deception, I really like seeing Smoke there. And UMK3, which is one of my favorite rosters of all time, had all three, as well as Ermac and Reptile. Moving on from there, I am going with Shang Tsung. And then Kotal Khan. And Nightwolf, but female. So my logic there, what was that?
They're just saying, okay, yeah.
Yeah. My logic here was I wanted to put Nightwolf on the roster because I like the character, but I also saw a trend that I wasn't having enough female representatives in this, and I know that's, a criticism of the fan base. And I don't have a whole lot of new characters being represented here either, so I'm like, let's just knock out all those birds with one stone. We'll have Nightwolf, but it'll be a female version, and yeah, then you get like a new character, a familiar character, and a female character all wrapped up in one. So that sounds fun. The reason why I put Kotal Khan here, I think I wanted somebody of the modern era to represent here, and I'll just spoil it right now. I don't have any of the other modern debuts, I guess, in regards to like no Devora, no Aaron Black, none of that, no Collector, none of the Combat Kids. Those are all sitting out, especially the Combat Kids and Devora. I mean, they could all use a rest. Aaron Black as well. My logic was anybody that's made the last 2 games was pretty much open to be left out, as well as anybody that's like made the majority of games, including trilogy era people. I also was open to leaving them out just because it's like, man, you gotta cycle these people. There's only certain ones that I consider like the sacred cows that you can't do, and that's Sub-Zero and Scorpion. Maybe Liu Kang as well, and Katana I'd probably put in that bunch as well. Now, some would argue Raiden. Obviously, so far I don't have Raiden, but Raiden's not making this roster, sadly enough. And it's crazy, I know, to think
Fuck
of.
'em. Fuck 'em.
I mean, well, he goes under the one of like desperately needs a rest territory, like of a character that's made almost every single roster in existence and has been in all the last, several games, of course. He's like prime suspect number 1 of being on that list of like I had to cut him. So moving on from there, that's actually going to cover my traditional half. I'm including Kotal Khan on there, and my pre-order bonus. We'll get to that when we get there, but I'm including Kotal Khan in my traditional half only for the fact that he kind of fell into. I gave him a slot because I wanted the other half of this roster to be all people that are either fresh and new that haven't really had their chance in a while, or were specifically brought in the 3D era. So that being said, let's go with Kenshi. Whoa, messed up my list there.
Total Kenshi.
Yeah.
Total Kenshi, the new hybrid character.
Now Kenshi
The new
obviously,
Noob Smoke.
yeah, Kenshi has obviously, had his fair share of appearances in the game, though he was only DLC in MK9, so it's not like he made the base roster there. And then in MKX he was on there, but he set the last one out. So I'm counting him as somewhat of a fresh face, but he's also getting in because of the 3D era half of this side of the roster. Next up, we got Reiko. I mean, out of all the characters that have yet to like come back, which I just put out a video on, like he's got to be up there towards like the top of ones that I feel like are just due for an appearance. So I'm putting him there, and we're gonna have Havoc, and then Fujin, because I mean, you can't drop the ball now. We just finally had him as DLC after all these years. It would be a shame for him to once again be missing the next game around. So we're gonna have Fujin there, and then we're going Lee Mei and Shujinko and Natara. So I'm basically just hitting a lot of the greatest hits of the 3D era that I feel like are very overdue for coming back. Like they've either made cameos or fans have been clamoring for them. Someone like Natara. I just think there's a lot of potential left on the table there. And we've talked about Shujinko. Tempest listed a lot of great ideas on how to make that work and so on and so forth. So
I thought about having Shujinko be a premier skin for Shang Tsung on my
yeah,
roster.
be
But like
interesting.
it'd be kind of fun, but also like he doesn't actually appear in story mode, so you don't need him. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I could see that. And then next up, we got Bo Raicho. He's also, I mean, he's not my favorite character, but I do like the idea of Bo Raicho. And once again, he got brought back as DLC for MKX. I don't want to see him, miss another game after missing MK11. So let's bring him back. He's at the very least, he's a polarizing character. Then we have Tanya, who's another character that's made a few rosters. So I don't consider her one that's been neglected in terms of by NRS or anything like that. I mean, she's I feel like she's always in contention, but she's typically kind of like just missing the roster from all the things we've heard over the years.
Yeah.
But she did make it into MKX's DLC, so let's bring her back here. And then we have Ashra and Serena. Now, they fall into the category of, once again, unused potential. I see great potential in both of them, and I think they qualify for some fan demand. They're not like maybe Fujin tier or they're not Rain tier or anything like that in terms of how many people out there are just, begging Ed Boon to bring them back. But at the same time, Serena has missed too many damn rosters and has never really gotten her time to shine. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. This is her time to be brought back along with all these other folks that also fit into that barrel. And then Ashra's more of a character that I obviously have a personal desire to see, but I see people asking for these two along with some of the other females of the roster that have been neglected, like Natara. So got to have your female representation as well, and I think they're the standouts of the 3D era. And then next up we have Tremor. Once again, he kind of falls into that camp that I don't want to see him just disappear. He finally got a debut, so let's not. Kind of like in the same thing what we had with Scarlet. Like if he's out for too many games in a row, you're going to start to worry that he was a one and done.
Yeah.
Plus, I don't know if he's considered a ninja still, but got to have all the ninjas there.
Yeah.
And then my last two here are Kai. And got to have some black representation in there as well, because Jax isn't making my initial roster. Neither is Jade. So got to have Kai here. And he's another one that I think has a lot of potential that we discussed, like the capoeira and stuff on our roster prediction game that we did. And I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, it's just crazy to me that he was debuted in MK4 and he was built up to be like, a predecessor or whatever, a replacement for Raiden and so on and so forth. But then he's just never again. He's had no major part again outside of Armageddon, but that's an all-in thing. So he's just there
take
because
my staff. Oh wait, no, I want that back. Give that back. Give that back.
Right. So I thought that out of all the remaining candidates from the 3D era that I was trying to choose between, I'm like, okay, I think he needs another go. He needs a chance here to really gain some popularity. And then last but not least on my initial roster here is going to be Great Kung Lao, because as you'll see here, I have no other new characters outside of, I guess, female Nightwolf. So I think this is a great opportunity to both create a new character that's not really new to the lore, but is new as in is debuting for the franchise in terms of a playability form. So yeah, I thought that was a good option there. And then my pre-order bonus is going to be Kentaro, because much like we've discussed, Goro's had his time to shine and he's had his popularity, but I think it's Kentaro's turn, and I think he can do some badass things with Kentaro. maybe giving him his own slot on a roster that's not an all-in game like Trilogy or Armageddon will finally give him a chance to be fleshed out a little bit more in front of people's eyes, gameplay wise and whatnot, to kind of help people mentally separate him from a Goro from a casual audience standpoint.
Right,
Let him kind of cement his own legacy, and that'll do it for my roster. And I think ultimately the goal of trying to get as many 3D era characters in there, I kind of cherry picked the ones that I personally thought were going to be the best options, as well as from that I've seen other people clamoring for. And yeah, ultimately, I kind of want out of MK12 it to go like a deception route where you leave a lot of the ones that you think are safe out of the game, like the Johnny Cages and the Raiden, at least in the initial roster, the Johnny Cages, the Raidens, etc., the Sonya, so on and so forth, and let them sit out at least off the initial roster. And then that way you open up these spots to get these 3D era guys another opportunity to really shine. So yeah, that's what we're kind of doing. We're taking a deception approach, except for instead of creating all new characters with half the roster, we are reintroducing people that we haven't seen in forever and definitely haven't been in like the NRS era. So in my opinion, they're as good as like new characters, except for now you're actually polishing up people that have been getting, piled on dust for all these years. That's it.
Who wants to go next?
I suppose I could do it. Oh wait, no. Temp's about to do it.
No. You said it first.
No. We kind of do. We kind of simultaneously made a noise, didn't we?
Yeah.
Well, my exact words were So you're good.
I went.
You got it.
Blah.
I think you guys should Rochambeau
You made more
for
of
it.
you made more of an actual word than I did. That's all I'm saying. I think that you get priority.
Sounds like
All
neither
right,
of you
all
want to go.
Yeah, there's real reluctance here.
Temp just
All right,
said,
got this.
Temp's polite and I'm Canadian. Go figure.
I could knock this out. My list is mostly not very controversial. It's very ninja heavy. A lot of classics, and then just a lot of different characters from different eras. My guidelines were very simple. I feel like if you are one of the top 10 most popular characters, you are just in by default. I kind of take a Soul Calibur approach to this. Soul Calibur 1 through 4, not 5. If people love this character, they should probably be there, unless there's a really, really good reason why they shouldn't. Deadly Alliance is a great example of that with Liu Kang, right? The other guideline was if a character has had little to almost no representation in the past, they're almost automatically in. There's only two real exceptions to this. And after that, it was just making sure that every game got decent representation. So that's kind of how I approach this. So I try to get most of the best 3D era into this game, since a lot of those characters just never got a second round to play, right? So we will start with, and this is all in order by game mostly. Liu Kang.
Alrighty.
He's the main character in Mortal Kombat.
I'm gonna laugh if you go down and do the exact same picks that I did. That would be hilarious. In the same order.
Well, that almost happened, but next I got Raiden.
Okay.
And these two characters, I think, make the game visually look like Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
People, when they hear about new Mortal Kombat, they're looking for that rice hat. So,
Sure.
you gotta have Raiden there. But I think he can play very well. I still love Thunder God Variations so much from MKX. So he can be so much fun if you let him shine. And I think MK11 Raiden was the most boring thing I've ever played in my life. But yeah, Raiden. I think he can be fun. Not always, but he's Raiden. After that, kind of the same reasoning. Cage. Iconic. Makes the game look like a Mortal Kombat game. And he's almost always extremely fun. As a matter of fact, he's also one of my favorite characters in MK11. I thought, out of all the characters in MK11, he felt the most MK9. And that's a huge compliment from me. Next is Sonya. I would have given anything not to put her on my list, but she is popular. As much as I hate this character, she is beloved. But yeah, if it were up to me, Sonya would never be in an MK game ever again. So Scorpion is 5.
Alrighty.
Scorpion.
Yeah.
Next is
What do you say?
he's yellow. He throws a spear. I'm sorry. I apologize. He's gold. Yes.
Whatever.
Depends on the game. It's different from game to game.
I know, but people don't want they want their favorite character to be gold and not yellow. They take it very personally sometimes.
You know what?
It's very funny.
I liked how he looked better when he was yellow.
There's no gold Cyrax. It's only a Scorpion thing.
Right.
But Scorpion is like duck bill yellow. It's very yellow. Let's see. So Sub-Zero, Kuai Liang, Sub-Zero.
Okay.
Not much to say. They're just one of the best characters of all time. Next is Reptile. I think Reptile should be in at least every other game. I think it's weird if he's not.
Right.
He's always fun. He's super fun to watch. He's so fast. He scratches, but he also dashes. He's a very fun character.
That
He has
is
the
what he
power to
does.
smell bad. He has a
Yes, he has the aura. He has the musk. So
get his
after
slime
that
all
is
over you.
I hope he's less slimy this time, but yes, he does indeed have the slime.
The force ball is literally slime. That's all.
Then why do we call it the force ball?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I love
Is
Reptile.
with you and it's slimy.
Really, the most important thing to me is he's green. He's got to be very green. If he's not
It's
green,
it's a bubble that pops with a large amount of force.
That is true. There's a lot of force behind that bubble. That very fast bubble. So I got Jax next. Jax is always so fascinating. He is always the character I'm looking forward to the most when it comes to like demonstrations.
Mhm.
Just because I'm always excited to see how they make him play. But it was between Kung Lao or Jax. I couldn't put them both in. I feel like if you're going to take out, like, you can take out Kung Lao, or you can take out Liu Kang, but you can never take out both. One of those guys have to be there. And Liu Kang is who I went with for obvious reasons. I just think there's something very MK2 about Jax, and I can't prove this like in a court of law, but I do not think Kung Lao is as popular as people say he is. I think he's very well liked, but very few people love Kung Lao. He's almost no one's favorite character. I know one person whose favorite character is Kung Lao, and I'm sorry, but I just I have to go. Based on putting my ear to the wall over the last 15 years, I just do not see that much hype around Kung Lao. So I went with Jax.
Yeah, Kung Lao
the
for
entire,
me. Go ahead.
the entire 90s of like movies and cartoons and TV shows are just like, we don't need two monks, do we?
And I like Lao too. He was technically although he probably would not have stayed my main if I kept playing MK11. But initially, he was my main. I do think he's really cool, but
I think
he'll
if
be
you
missed.
have like Raiden or Great Kung Lao or Bo Raicho or any combination of the bunch there as like Liu Kang's buddy, like
I thought
I
you were
don't
going
think
somewhere totally different with that. I thought if you have Raiden or other characters with hats, you really don't need Kung Lao.
no. Well, I mean,
That's enough hats.
for me, at least for me, Kung Lao is an easy cut, like comparatively speaking.
We don't need
Well,
two
he's been
guys
around a
with
lot.
hats, do we?
Yeah.
Especially if they're bald. Yeah, it hurt because I too think he's really cool, but
Yeah, he can sit out
Yeah.
one though. I mean, like, not every character needs to be in every single game here, but yeah, I think
Uh,
he's one that's like I put him in the reptile category. Like, you can let him sit out one, maybe not two, but maybe one.
I like that comparison. I would never leave Lao out for too long, right? I think
Sure.
he needs to show up once in a while.
Yeah,
'Cause
he's got a
he's
cool
so
factor.
fun.
Yeah,
The important thing is that you wouldn't get rid of him.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm down with this. I'm very down with this, as you'll see. Yeah.
It was crazy. The paradox of Kung Lao is, despite the fact that he's the hat guy, he has some of the most diverse gameplay in Mortal Kombat. He can do so much crazy, cool shit. The hat guy, that is. But yeah, so, but I at the end of the day, I'd rather play Jackson Kung Lao, honestly. So
Sure.
next three are easy: Katana, Melina, Jade. I mean, there's just not much to say here. All three of them are wildly popular.
Yeah.
Katana is super important to the story. Melina is super important to Katana, and Jade has a staff, so that's just the easiest show.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Also, this is a popularity choice as well. Noob Saibot.
All right. I like where you're going.
He's just insanely popular. And he always will be probably.
He's he's like Mr. Cool Factor. Like when it goes back to that MK9 reveal, right? Like he had the coolest reveal of MK9. So, and he was sorely missed in MKX.
Yeah, that's probably one of the best reveal trailers I've ever seen in my life, to be honest with you. And even watching people, because back then there weren't really YouTube reactions yet, but watching people react to the MK11 Noob Saibot trailer, I remember watching Eris, and Eris was just watching the trailer thinking, like, they're idiots for not putting this guy in MKX. They are fucking crazy for not putting this character in MKX.
Right.
Because he looks so cool. He's so visually awesome, right?
Yeah. He's just got a lot of fun tricks, like visually.
I miss his like Sentai posing win pose.
Yeah, Smoke kind of had an MK9 too, but it was a different flavor. But I love both those win poses. Well, with Noob, you don't see it coming because he's just doing moves, and then the other one shows up. It's tight.
Right.
Yeah,
Sometimes
it's
it's
like he starts doing like a Kamen Rider henshin, and then all of a sudden there's a second one. Back to back.
Yeah, cool mirror effect going on.
Yeah.
And the next one is also easy Smoke. And I think just objectively, like, he got top 10 like the last like large scale poll.
right.
He did very well. I think he was like number 7. So he would be this game's Noob Saibot. Like when they did polls prior to MK11, Noob won like all of them, right?
Right.
Followed by Frost. It was like Noob and Frost. I'm like, okay.
I don't know why that's weird, but sure.
Frost beat out Smoke?
Yeah. Well, not on all the polls, but on most of them, yeah.
I'm gonna throw up in my mouth a little bit.
All right. Take it easy over here. I mean, I respect Smoke. It can be mutual.
Yeah, but Frost? Okay,
Wow. All right. He's doubling down.
Let's keep going.
Like we love Frost, but Frost ain't Smoke, man.
Look, man, I root for your guys' favorites. Just a little reciprocated would be nice. I'm over here jerking you off. Just give me a reach.
I don't understand. That's all.
So yeah, dude, everyone loves Smoke, dude. Just like almost universally one of the best characters in the series. No one dislikes Smoke.
I mean, it's hard to go wrong with somebody that has a unique power set. Like, I get why people like Sonya, right? Because it goes back to the nostalgia factor, and it also goes back to the MK movie, the original. So it's Bridget Wilson or whatever, and all that. I almost said Bridget Nielsen.
Oh, we close enough.
That's a common mistake. We do it all the time.
But anyways, no, I can understand why they go back to that, but from like a visual, like which character is going to have a cooler reveal trailer? Sonya or Smoke? Sonya or Noob Saibot? Sonya or Reptile? All of those are going to be the fucking ninjas. Like, you cannot beat a cool ass fucking repertoire of powers. You know what I mean? Like, they just look badass as soon as they come on screen. And Raiden has that factor too. They look cool.
Back now, granted, you could like 15 years ago, actually it would have been more than that now. There were haters for Smoke, and that camp's like mantra was he's just a gray scorpion. And I even back then in 2005, I'd log on to MKO and tell all those people how much they were idiots, right? How that would very obviously not be the case anymore. But that camp is gone. That is disbanded.
I made sure of that.
Yeah, so we don't take kindly to them anymore.
Now, Skeeter, they ain't hurting nobody.
No, come on, Skeeter. Come on.
He ain't
I
causing
just want
no
to point out
trouble.
that I'm looking at a picture of Bridget Nielsen and Flava Flav together for some reason. That's a DLC pack right there if ever I saw one.
Or at the very least a premiere skin.
I think we've just found our first 2 guest characters.
It's a tag team.
Yeah.
It's like Noob Smoke.
It's like Kotal Kenshi.
Flava Flav is like the Farah.
It's
to her
Ferrator. He
Yeah.
rides on her shoulders, of course.
Giant clock. He's got clock powers.
He
do
just
this whole
give him all his moves.
This whole Chang Choi thing where like she spins him around and he whacks you with a clock repeatedly like it's tornado pattern.
So yeah, the next
Where the
one.
hell were we?
This is gonna be my 14th character. So
Yep.
Ermac. I like Deception Ermac. I really don't like what they've done with him, and if it were up to me, he would not be on this list. But
You
he's
didn't like
he's
him
very
in
popular.
MK9?
Fix him. You
Uh,
can fix him.
You can, and I mean, it's not that I dislike him in MK9. It's just he wasn't really anything in MK9. He was mind controlled in MK9.
No, I mean from
Yeah.
like a visual, like his design and like gameplay.
Um. Uh.
Obviously, his story is what it is. There's no real argument there.
Here's the thing, right? Like Ermac seems really good at MK9 until you learn how to fight him, and he's one of the worst characters in the game. So he would need help. I want to change a lot about him, but like visually, yeah, he's kind of up there with Noob. I love his X-ray.
Yeah.
Especially funny on Sindel because of the noise she makes. Just visually, he's very cool to look at. His combo, like if you can do his optimal stuff, he does a lot of damage and looks really cool. So yeah, I mean. On a surface level, Ermac's all right.
I just meant more like once again, he's got the cool factor. He's got the flair. Like if his design is right, like it is in Deception, and I thought his MK9 primary was pretty cool too. But like if his design is there, if it's the Ermac that people like, I think his gameplay is always very flashy. Maybe it's not super great to like competitively or whatever. I just meant more from like a flash factor. That's the only reason I honestly put him as like my pre-order for the prediction game that we did. Is like if they're gonna make a character like that, a pre-order Ermac makes sense because he would sell copies because of they could make a badass trailer. But yeah, that was my only like. That's the angle I'm coming from, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's why he's on my list. He's beloved, and I still have a soft spot for Ermac. He's just one of the more frustrating characters I think in the series right now, up there with like Cabal.
Right.
Cabal's slightly worse, but that's another day, right?
Sure.
Next is Cyrax. I wanted to pick one of two cyborgs. Generally, I default to Cyrax just because I think he's more fun to play. But also, he's just easier to integrate in the story. You can do a lot. Really, you can do almost anything you want with Cyrax, right? Like, you can make him a combat kid. There's really nothing you can't do with Cyrax.
Combat kid.
Sector's a little harder. Like, there's no version of MK where Sector doesn't want to take over the Lin Kuei and invade Japan. That's pretty much every version of Sector in all possible worlds. Sector, he's kind of already in route. You could make him sort of like a henchman. I don't think that's the right way to treat Sector, but you could do it and make it interesting. I just think Cyrax is much more malleable, or malleable. I hope I pronounced that right. And yeah, I think gameplay-wise, he tends to be a lot more fun.
I want angsty teen Cyrax now.
Don't even
See,
want
I was
that.
gonna have like old man Cyrax hanging out with the kids, right?
Cyrax has
Yeah,
braces.
exactly. Like, he walks up like Cassie and Jackie, and he's wearing the Steve Buscemi hat, and he's holding like a skateboard.
He's turns to like
Hello, children.
Took a turn.
Activating skateboard mode.
just turns to Kung Jin. What are we gonna do, guys? Like, yeah, it just seems really funny to me.
He does a kickflip. The kids are unimpressed, so he tries to do like some sort of crazy trick and just falls to a bunch of pieces.
His chest razor down onto the pavement and like spins around sideways.
Some
I
other
like that.
kids
Every single time he face plants, his limbs come apart,
yeah.
and then he just like teleports back together. He's like, "I'm fine. Everything is fine. Nothing happened."
The bully that's heckling him, saying like he's obviously not a kid. Like he just sucks him into his chest through trash compactor shit, garbage disposal.
He keeps reminding everyone that he's actually 17. Like, man, my 17 years of fighting. Yeah.
Yeah, they all go. All the other kids that were like going to say something go along with it and never question Cyrax again or point out the fact that he's obviously an old man, just because they don't want to get fucking garbage disposal.
Oh man, I love Cyrax. Obviously, he of the duos of Ketchup and Mustard, I lean towards Cyrax, which is weird. I don't really like the color yellow very much.
I don't either.
But, it's weird how that works out, but I love Cyrax. I think he's a lot of fun.
The best thing that could happen to Cyrax if he does get brought back is like, I have a new color scheme. They painted me differently.
Oh man.
Because yeah, fuck yellow.
It's just a boring. I know. Granted, well, I'll put the color yellow with Cabal and save that for another day, right?
I think yellow looks good if if you're mostly black and you have some yellow, like Cyrax used to be.
Yeah.
Isn't that also bumblebees though? Don't bumblebees also look
Oh
like?
boy, don't make it worse.
What's wrong with bumblebees?
I'm not anti bumblebee. I'm just saying, like, it's not.
You know what? What about wasps and hornets? They're like bees, but badass.
It's about there's too much yellow, and you're an Iron Man outfit with like a bucket of yellow paint like dumped over you.
Yeah.
There's too much black. You're basically kind of like.
I have a pitch. What if we made Cyrax gold?
boy.
I like it. Like,
Yeah.
See, I'm more of a silver or platinum guy. That's the thing, though. Something about yellow.
yeah, me too. But I like shiny shit.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Striker.
number 16, Striker.
Yeah. Again, my second guideline was giving characters second chances. Striker is bottom 5 in MK9, but he's very well designed. He's bottom 5 because he has random gaps in his strings, and he's very unsafe in his mid-range game. But you can make that character good very easily. I think he's beautifully designed. I think he's fun too. I think Striker's just kind of funny. I think he looks cool in MK9. I think this time he is where Cabal would have been, but I went with Striker instead just because Cabal's had his chances and he's been lame every single time. So we're not doing that again. Now we have completed the MK3 roster. We are moving on to MK4. Next is Fujin.
Yeah, you gotta have him come back, right?
Well, as much as I hate MK11, Fujin was amazing. Fujin was excellent in that game. Like, everything I love about Fujin is mostly in that game. If I really wanted to nitpick, I would say giving the short hair with the cape was kind of dumb, but that's fine. Whatever, I'll live. Just he's amazing, and everyone knows it now. Everyone, no one can beat Ignorance anymore.
Well, that's the benefit of bringing these characters back, because you took a small audience, a small vocal audience that was clamoring for Fujin for all of these years, and by finally giving in to that desire, you allow the wider audience to realize how great Fujin is, because now he's got a redesign and they get to see all these cool ass moves. Because they might go back to, like, you know, if you're a casual fan or you just became a fan in the NRS era, I should say, and you weren't a fan back, you know, in the Midway days, then you may not go back to MK4. You probably won't go back and just play that game unless there's a nostalgia factor to it for you and you were around during that time. So you have no idea. Like, you had no attachment to Fujin prior to that. So like, bringing these characters back from 3D era and giving them another chance, another lease at life, like a Fujin, that allows, you know, a wider audience to see his greatness, and then he can become a favorite, or, you know, one of people's favorites. And it's just so weird to me to just keep creating new characters and leaving characters behind like that. But additionally,
yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, and additionally, like, don't just bring him back and make him DLC for one game, and then, like, okay, we did what you wanted. Bye. Like, goodbye, Fujin. Goodbye for another however many years. Like, if you do that, I feel like that's gonna leave a sour taste, because nobody wants to be like, oh, I finally got what I want, and then goodbye forever. Like, people wanted Fujin back because they want to continually have Fujin back. It doesn't have to be in every game by any means, but I think it's it's a bad faith type of thing if you bring somebody back as DLC and then just forget about him after that.
Especially when he's wildly popular in every single category. He was popular in ranked, he was popular in tournament, he was popular on Twitter, like every category. He got an A+, right? And also, like, he kind of pulled off in MK11 what Smoke failed to pull off in MK9, which is having the premier MK anime character. I think they pulled that off finally with Fujin, and it worked out great. So I'm excited to see what they do with him. I feel like just by design and concept alone, he should be there. Wind is awesome, but he's also super popular. So yeah, Fujin, 100%. The next pick hurts because I hate this character, but he needs to be there. Quan Chi.
Yeah.
Honestly, Shinnok's not on my list, but I would give anything to swap this out with Shinnok. Because what's really cool about Shinnok is that he has like a personality and he's a lot of fun. And Quan Chi, I feel like, has been doing the same shit for like 15 years. So I would have much rather have had Shinnok, but it is what it is.
So then why'd you go with Quan Chi over Shinnok?
Because I think Quan Chi is undeniably super popular. I think he's going to make the most people happy.
Okay.
People like, I think, and if I'm wrong, I'd love to hear that I'm wrong, but I think it's very apparent out of all my time in the MK community that Quan Chi is more popular than Shinnok. He just is.
Yeah, well, that also goes kind of hand in hand with who gets more opportunity and limelight than the other. Like Quan Chi's had all the time in the world to gain that popularity. Shinnok has not. So it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like that's kind of been always my problem with like NRS being like, do people really want that character back? It's like, well, if you never like design them in a modern game where you give these characters way more attention and love and like flashiness than they had in the 3D era, which was not the ideal state to create these characters in to begin with. So if you don't ever bring them back and give them a real like best foot forward chance in a modern game, of course they're not going to have the fandom and popularity behind them.
Well, the things that make Shinnok great are just not as obvious, right? Like, I mean, Shinnok was base roster in MKX, but he did not obtain the same popularity as Fujin obtained in MK11.
Right.
And I mean, like Fujin looks like the shirtless dude on a Danielle Steele novel, right?
Sure.
Shinnok is an old man with his ugly arms hanging out, right? Like,
not everybody's cup of tea. No, I get it. It doesn't appeal to all audiences. You're not wrong.
I think one of the things that really elevated Shinnok for me is when Taven was like, intimidating him, and he's like, "I'm old." I really like that because it's all an act. And I like that sophistication, right? And I like it when he's also talking shit in MKX. Just his whole philosophy of death. It's just a lot of fun. You could break that down to something interesting. Quan Chi wants power, and he's bald. That's the entire character.
And people confuse him with Kratos. Yes.
And he's got a great voice. Always got a great voice.
Yeah, he has a very sexy voice. I am a Shinnok guy, 100% though. But this list isn't for me though, right?
It's for the greater good in your mind, yes.
Yeah, well, I want my friends to be happy, even ones who like Quan Chi, right? So, the next one's even more heartbreaking because I had to take off a character I really think should be in. And the next character is Serena. This was supposed to be Kai, right? But the fact of the matter is, I think Serena is just objectively a better character. And I don't think she's ever truly had a chance to date. I don't think Armageddon counts for anyone.
No.
So
in Tournament Edition either. The hand.
Yeah, and you know what? As critical as I am of MKX, Serena was great. I love the scene with Serena. She looked so good in that game.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, so like if you want to know my type, look at Serena. So and also just like Kai was not in fucking Mortal Kombat mythologies, all right? Like as much as I love Kai, he wasn't in one of the most important stories in the entire Mortal Kombat lore. But it's still heartbreaking though, because does Kai deserve a spot? Absolutely, but not more than Serena, right? So and also like the whole capoeira thing, that's a shame. That really should be in Mortal Kombat by now.
But
yeah. So Serena, like
I mean, he made my roster, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
I got a spot for him.
Kai appreciates that. Believe it or not, that completes my MK4 list. Now we're moving on to
that completes my list. 19 characters. Fuck you.
There's no other good characters past Serena, guys.
Look, I got the guys who really matter.
I got Sonya. Now I got Kenshi on the list. So he's not my favorite character, if I'm being honest, but I do think he is the face of the 3D era. And I do not think that's a bad thing. I think Kenshi's fine. He's a like 6.8 out of 10. I think he's a very good character.
Love Kenshi. He's like top 3 for me, but
and cool. I think I don't know if anyone can make a case that anyone else from like Deception Deadly Alliance is more popular than Kenshi. Maybe again, I could not prove that in the laboratory, but I do think he is the most popular out of everyone in the 3D era, even if it is for the wrong reasons, right? But yeah.
I mean,
for the
he's
wrong reasons.
There's not a lot of dispute to that. Like the next most competitive name would be Havoc.
Yeah,
And
I
he's
would agree
not
with
been
that.
given another chance like Kenshi
Yeah.
has multiple
Yeah.
times. So yeah, I think that's an unfair like fight for Havoc, but hopefully he'll have his time.
And
Because yeah,
and next is not Havoc yet. Next we have Boraicho. This is a strange pick, but I think gameplay wise, he is more than proven. He is one of the most unique characters gameplay wise in the history of Mortal Kombat. And if we can't have Kai doing crazy handstands and shit, Boraicho is the next best thing in my opinion.
mhm.
He's also very iconic. And he's super, super important to the story. He's networked amongst a lot of different characters, right?
Yeah.
Next is Natara. So Natara's had a lot of face time recently, and if we're bringing back popular 3D era characters, she is, I think, you could have Lee May or you could have Natara. I don't think you need both. So I went with Natara just because people know who she is. And I think she's just more present in the public consciousness for Mortal Kombat. And I think she has a lot of gameplay potential. Any character who can fly has pretty serious gameplay potential, right?
Yeah. But you know
So
what I'm not going to stand for or sit for that matter? You just left Lee May out again?
yeah, I did. What are you gonna do about
Dude, we know you love this character. Stop fucking around.
it?
Get him.
No, I mean, you bring up a fair point.
I am gonna get him. You
Horse
were
race.
asking, dude. I remember years back. I mean, we all go back 8 years plus, but 8 years of doing this show. I remember in MKX when fucking Lee May showed up in the story trailer, and you were fucking taking NRS over the barrel because you're like, that's so much fucking bullshit to put her in a trailer and not have her actually be playable. That's such a tease. And you were so pissed about that. And to have that, like, you love this character. Look, I get you don't trust him at this point, but for fuck's sake, this is your chance. Lee May, how could you not? And she has the following. You're gonna tell me there's more Natara fans out there than Lee May? I think it's comparable. I think they're like in the same boat.
I don't know what you're talking about. I was just no, I'm joking. No, your point is partially taken, right? So, is Lee May have a substantial fan base? Yeah, I would say so. Do I still? I love Lee May. Like, there's no question about that. But this list isn't for me though. Although if it was for me, I still wouldn't put her on there. But
You make me sick.
now, granted, I think Natara was just in a full motion picture, right?
Was she
She
great
was-
in that though? I mean,
But people know who she is. Like, that was the big problem with Fujin all those years, right? I don't think Fujin had a popularity problem. I think he had like a visibility problem, right? So also like I can't remember which twin it was, but one of the twins, Ketchup or Mustard, went on record saying they didn't like Lee May. I think 16-bit has gone on record saying Lee May was dumb.
I thought
Lee May has a
16-bit
lot of
liked Lee May.
Maybe I don't think so. But
16-bit lost all credibility when she stood up for fucking Sindel. So
yeah, well, Sindel's obviously not on my list. And that's not even a me thing either. Like, there is a faction of people who likes her new story. So if NRS is in the boardroom saying we can bring back Sindel with her revised story, or we can bring her back with her classic story, if I was them, I'd be like, we're not even going to play with this shit. Sindel is just not coming back. We're not even messing with this, right? So I don't think there's any Sindel that isn't going to be controversial anymore. That's why she's not on my list, right? So yeah, I don't think you need Natara and Lee May. Like, if Lee May was in the most recent film, that horrible movie, that would be a very strong case for Lee May. But I just don't think enough people know who she is. But I think of the people who who are familiar with her, she's more liked than disliked. But a lot of people think she's super boring. And if you don't know her story or you don't know her gameplay concepts, I do think she probably is kind of boring. But I do know those things, so I love that character. But nonetheless, I thought Natara was a better choice, and I didn't have space for anyone else from the Deadly Alliance era.
Bro, I don't ever want to hear you say her name ever again. I've
Get
carried
Lima's
I
that
don't
flag.
ever wanna hear
I've
you
carried that
say,
flag.
I
Now, I feel
want
like
it that way.
I mean, Lee May was a character I liked in Deadly Alliance, and I mean, I played her. She was like my second or third most used character, and it just makes me sick at this point that you just gave up on her. You just
Yeah, I
gave
did.
up on her.
Yeah, but you know what,
Right.
though? Fuck her.
No, no, absolutely not. Unless it's consensual. But I've just the thing is, like,
You're not
she's
her
still
type. She's into like big dragon, you know,
I
size
can
queen.
dragon these nuts. But no, it's just
Never heard
She
that before.
wants the D, the dragon. That's all there is
yeah,
to it.
it's I fucked Onaga and all I got was this lousy T-shirt. I know that made me laugh for like I giggled all the live long day during that. But still, come on, man, she's still got like such good potential, and her design in MKX right along with Serena. I thought her design was cool. Like there was so much potential still there of this fucking Asian chick that just takes names and fucking is cool
You know what?
and stuff.
You know what? She'd be in at least 2 sequels to my roster.
Cyborg, I think that you know full well that potential in this series doesn't guarantee
Come on,
jack.
come on, man. I get it. Look, we've all been disappointed. Trust me. I'm right there with you. Maybe not from a story standpoint, from a roster standpoint. I've been dicked around with Cyrex too. You guys got dicked around with Smoke. Lee May's in that conversation. Serena's obviously like the fucking poster child of being dicked around. But the thing is, it's just I don't know, man. This is just this it's just
So dropping
I'm just saying that we get, you know, it's a tried and it's a tested topic. Like how many great characters have just been left by the wayside that had great potential, and yet we keep getting Kano. You know,
sure.
it happens.
But
all
this is
the
our
time.
rosters, right? Like this is for like this is your chance to sing the praises of a character of why they should be brought back on this roster and what to do with them. This is your time to voice that opinion. And I feel like you're
I mean,
just
this is my opinion. No, make no mistake. Like, well, I would say 2 counters, right? The first counter being that everything you just said about Lee May could also apply to Natara. That's the first thing I'd probably bring up, right? I think everything
but
you
why
said
not
about her
both?
is also true. Why'd have room for both?
Get Sonya the fuck out of there. You don't need Sonya, all right? Fucking
Oh,
put-
dude, Cyborg, I promise you, I would take Sonya off this list if I could. I would 100% take Sonya off this list if I could.
You can though, because I did. All right, you can. It's possible. Trust me. You just here. We'll go up here. Hold on. You're with me, right? Here, I'll just slowly go up
I'm
here.
approving this.
We'll go up to Sonya.
This is coercion.
We'll do the strike through front, and then we'll put
I'm
Lee
being
May.
violated right now.
What if you just fixed Sonya? What if her moveset was the stuff she had in MK versus DC?
Well,
you
this
know,
is
the
the
leg
thing,
grab and
though.
the bike
I
kick.
think gameplay wise, she's good at 9. I like the military stance stuff a lot. She was just too good. I think with like maybe like 6 or 7 nerfs, like okay, nice.
You know, they moved her bike kick to the X-ray. If she had her bike kick back, I think 9 was just about perfect.
Yeah, fair. I forgot that was her X-ray.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what. I will let this go on one condition, and that is if they do put Lee May in the game and she's fucking badass, you better not fucking touch her.
You're not allowed to main her.
Nope.
You've given
At
up.
that point, if you give up, if you drop that Lee May flag and you fucking gave up and you didn't have the faith in them to get it right, if they do and she's in the game and she's awesome, I better not see any fucking play record of her under your username, sir. I will check the play time for every single character like it's MK9. I will figure this shit out.
Don't make promises you can't keep now, Tim.
I've signed that contract with my left hand, so it doesn't count.
Oh.
Whatever. Just fucking. What's your number 23? Damn it.
Next we have Havoc.
It's fine.
Oh yeah, actually, back to Lee May for one more second. So I had 2 counters, right? First was that all that applied to Natara as well, but the other one was that the things that make Lee May really interesting to me is sort of like her tragic road and how it intersects with like Boraicho, and just sort of like fighting those demons and contending with that. And of course, the gameplay concepts. But I don't see how you can do that twice, right? I don't see
Yeah,
how
like
you can kind of have that victimhood more than once.
To have a new universe where things happen different, but somehow she still ends up temporarily one of Onaga's mummies. What are the odds?
I mean, Natara's like, I don't even think Natara needs to be a vampire. She has wings. I'm happy. Like,
Hey,
oh,
whoa, hey, whoa.
That
now.
might be a bit too far. She has wings because her species are bat people.
I just want to fly. I believe I can fly. All right, next character. Havoc. So, I didn't even notice you wrote this.
I was gonna ask if you'd seen something. If you were really sure what your number 23 was there.
This one's actually easy because everyone loves Havoc. He's just a great character, and he should have been back already. So yeah, that's pretty easy. After that is Ashra, and this character, I think, not one of my favorite characters, but really deserves another chance. Not a lot of like light-based fighting game characters. I think DNF Duel, I think, has one coming as DLC, and I think her and Ashra are it. I like her ending a lot. I always like that, Noob Saibot was like, "Come on, Smoke, let's get her." And like Smoke is all freaking the fuck out because he's not supposed to be like he's still a good person who shouldn't be in the Netherrealm. I always love that ending, right? So
Not even supposed to be here today.
That is Deception Smoke in a nutshell. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. So I don't think Ashra has a lot of haters either. I think she's fairly neutral among the community. If anything, leaning towards the positive.
Yeah,
But
I think at worst people are like, she's all right.
she's very deception-y too. She just feels like she's from the Deception era, right?
Yeah.
Just kind of like how Boraicho feels very Deadly Alliance to me.
Yeah.
Feels like a Deadly Alliance character.
It's
Yeah.
really strange how these characters that debuted in these games feel like those games.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah, just Ashra is just like dripping with Mortal Kombat deception to me.
I mean, there's an aesthetic thing, like, because Bo Rai Cho is the most Shaw Brothers character on the roster, and
Oh, yeah.
Deadly Alliance doubled down on the Shaw Brothers compared to other MK games.
And I think with Boraicho, especially when he first showed up, it's hard to be neutral on a character like that. You either think he's cool or he's stupid. No one's really indifferent to the giant fat guy. Oh, that reminds me. Let's see. You need to put fat in parentheses next to Boraicho just in case.
Wait, you think they're gonna slim him down after all these years?
I like to play a safe cyborg, all right?
I thought that you were about to like go back and like retroactively put Kamal up there because you mentioned fat.
Right.
Yeah, let's just take Asher off and put Cabal there.
Fat Cabal.
Even
Next is we're now done with the 3D era.
Yeah.
After that, we're going Aaron Black.
Man, that 3D era didn't. What is that? 5, 6? Okay. Oh yeah, Aaron Black. All right.
Just a very popular character. I think
Yeah.
it's hard to tell exactly who's the most popular character of the NRS era, but I think Aaron Black is absolutely a contender in that conversation, right? He's in the top.
Him and Kodal probably, and maybe
Yeah.
Cassie.
Also, I think I used to hate like a lot of the NetherRealm characters, but I think Aaron Black, there's nothing intrinsically wrong with that character. I just don't think he's terribly interested in the story modes. But I think as a concept, he's great, especially in MKX, right?
Right.
So, and he's visually well executed. If you're going to do like a cowboy ninja, I think they did a good job. And the coin flip variation is actually very smart. They did a really good job of taking a gunslinger and using like coin ricochets as a like offensive tactic.
Yeah.
Like you can't just do that. That's like Guilty Gear shit. And they kind of pulled it off beautifully, right? So yeah, Aaron Black, I think he's kind of earned his place. Next is Kotal Khan. Everything I hate about Kotal Khan is just bad NRS writing. But if you take all that away, I don't think there's anything wrong with that character. So yeah, I think he's kind of interesting from a gameplay perspective. MK11 took a weird turn with him, but it worked well enough. He can turn into a panther. That works too.
Yeah, I don't know
Um,
if he needs to turn into a panther. Like, some of his moves are bird themed and some of his moves are snake themed. They just, I feel like pick one. Pick one, maybe.
No,
just
just
it
like
just all over the place.
Sir, could you
all
just
the
calm
Aztec
down with all this
all
animal
the
stuff?
Aztec god references. He turns into everything Aztec ever.
Yeah. You can't be an entire pantheon by yourself. All right, just be one god. Be
Dial it
one.
back a little.
Especially if you like the sun god.
Save
Like
some
I
for the
just
next
don't,
game, guy.
I don't think large cats when I think the sun, right? Like I don't know.
It's
He's
just
also
selfish.
green, but he's also not actually green, so that's frustrating.
Yeah, no, he's covered in paint.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
I kind of like it. It gives him like a texture, you know.
I wish I had that reptile edit on hand. I think it's on my phone somewhere, but
It's
it
the
would take way too
weirdest retcon to have this character debuted, and we all thought he was just a green-skinned guy.
Well,
But
so here's
nope,
the thing: is
paint
that
retcon.
if you look at MKX, like when they released the renders and stuff, you could see the cracking paint, the brown underneath. It was the comic that made us think that he was green-skinned, and that was because the comic was not given reference material. They didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, but I
He
just like
didn't look.
green.
He didn't look all that painted to me in MKX. He really
Well,
didn't.
you have to like the high-res renders to see it. Like you got
I
to
guess.
zoom in close.
Getting real
His
geek
personality is
like.
also very what's up?
Nothing.
Oh, I was gonna say his personality also seems very ephemeral to me. I feel like his personality is just whatever the story needs him to be.
You know that
So I think, yeah,
we like to every now and then conveniently disregard the MKX comic, but the MKX comic is responsible for the version of Kotal that people actually like,
yeah,
And
that's the best
it's
version of Kotal Khan. Yeah,
and we have
it's
Kilson to thank for
it
that.
is kind of loosey goosey, but he does consistently seem to be that they want him to come across as the noble savage, like the guy who comes from Outworld but has honor.
Right.
Like that's he's kind of dumb and he doesn't always like make the best decisions because he's kind of like the solution to all my problems is military strength, but he wants to fight fair and do the best for his people as opposed to Shao Kahn who just fuck everybody, give it to me, it's mine.
Also, as opposed to Goro, who is basically all of those things, except maybe without the a little bit dumb as well.
Yeah, Goro is smarter than Kotal, that's canon.
Now,
yeah,
before you
but
get to this last one,
yeah.
I'm gonna deliver you a warning.
all
I
right, all right.
swear, if this is Cassie fucking Cage, after this Lee May bullshit that you've tried to pull
Oh
off,
man.
all right.
Yes, no, continue. You were saying something, Cyborg.
No, I
Finish the
think I've already
sentence.
said what needs to be said. If this is fucking Cassie Cage after this Lee May shit,
Finish it.
then I
Deliver us from evil.
just fucking do what you gotta do, man.
Evil!
Oh man, I'm sorry, Cyborg. I got some bad news for you, sir.
Oh wow,
It's Cassie
really?
Cage, yeah.
Those
I'm gonna throw up.
eyes.
I'm
Those
going to
horrible
throw up.
yellow eyes.
Where is a fucking bucket? Ugh.
I like Cassie Cage a lot. I think she's a better Sonya. I think she's just a more like human, like rounded out character. I think in MKX she was awful, but because they were trying to make her like Cage, but they forgot to make her funny. And then MK11, I like her face looks normal again. It didn't look all fucked up like it did in MKX. I thought she gelled better with the characters, which is ironic because MKX was like all about those four kids, right? So yeah, I would say Cassie Cage. Also, I want more female representation. Takeda was very close, right? But like in terms of gameplay, I thought they nailed her. I like the drone stuff. I like her sort of rushdown style, but her zoning style is also very interesting. She does kind of everything well. So, and I think she's popular. I see her a lot online. I saw her quite a bit in tournament early on. So, yeah, I'm gonna say Cassie Cage is relatively popular. What the fuck? I just saw the screen.
I mean, I have no problem with Cassie Cage. I thought
It
she
sounds
done
like you
great.
have a problem. It sounds
No.
I
like
think his problem
No.
is you right
With
now,
you,
sir.
No, the problem is not Cassie Cage. She was fine in MK11. I thought she had some good moments too, and good elements to her, and I thought they definitely did her better there than in MKX. That's all. I mean, I just you prefaced your list by
He's not
saying,
angry. He's just disappointed.
I mean, that's an
yeah.
understatement. Like you prefaced your list about like how you're gonna make as many people happy as possible.
I mean, there's more
Fine.
Cassie fans than Lee May fans, if that's the implication. Let's be real, dude.
Oh yeah, well that's because Cassie Cage has gotten a fucking opportunity.
You know, no one said anything about
Where
it
did
yet.
the New York accent come from?
Things
Hey,
come
I'm
out, all
fucking
right?
here. This fucking guy with his Lee May, his gabagool right here.
You know, no one said anything about it up till now, but nice little boo mouse icon. I like it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I don't know when it doesn't always appear, does it? Oh, there it is.
That's an
There it
XCOM
is.
thing.
Weird. But yeah, thanks.
So yeah, that mostly concludes my list. And my pre-order is going to be Kentaro Lives.
I would have laughed my ass off if you said Lee May after all that.
I was half expecting it, honestly. I thought he was punking us.
No. It's a list for everybody.
I mean, I see what you're going for, but
And like I said, there was a big Soul Calibur inspiration here. So it's very, very like bottom heavy on like the classic characters. And then almost everything else is like era representation. Because I think if you're going to represent the last 10 years of Mortal Kombat, I think
Sure.
Aaron, Kotal, and Cassie do that very well.
I mean, I can't argue with that, but I mean, maybe just kick one of them to DLC or something. Like, we didn't need 3 of them out of the gate, you think? I don't know.
Aaron Black, I think, would be good DLC. I have a DLC list. I think you can make the case that Aaron Black should be DLC though.
'Cause I won't spoil my DLC. We're not talking about that yet. But like my thought process with DLC is like, let the motherfuckers that have been in like all these fucking games, let that be the DLC for once. Why do we always have to wait for the ones that we really want as DLC? Like let's let the people that have gotten their cake right out of the gate, let them wait the month or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 for the character they want this time around, and let's please some other folks for once. But that's kind of my thought process on it. So like, I
Yes.
mean, maybe Aaron, but yeah, no, I see what you're doing here. I see it. I think
Yeah,
it's funny that we all chose Kentaro so far.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing a very best of Deep Purple, you gotta have Perfect Strangers in there, right? Like, so yeah, that's how I made this list.
But yeah, it's hard to argue with you on terms of like if you're gonna pick the top 3 from the NRS era, those probably would be the ones. I mean, Devora, you could I guess make an argument, but I don't know that like I mean, she's as offensive as she is popular, so
Yeah,
Very
she's
polarizing.
polarizing in a way that Cassie's not. Also, like, she's had a lot of face time. She's had a lot of spotlight, and I don't think her popularity lives up to how much screen time she's had. That's why she didn't make it. She was in my list. I crossed her off, though. Like, I made a list of, like, 32 characters, and then it was just, like, actually, it was bigger. There's, like, 36 characters. And after that, it was just cutting, like, who was the least important, and Devora was on that list.
See, what you just said about Devora is like you don't think her popularity has like her screen time has lived up to her popularity. I could not sum up Aaron Black better than that. Like talk about a character that's a great concept and cool like gameplay wise, but in terms of like what he's done in story mode and his presence in cutscenes and stuff, man, has he been underwhelming.
I don't see a lot of haters for Aaron Black, though, right? Like, I don't see a lot of people who are like, man, fuck this character. Like, maybe that's out there, but I don't see it. Like,
Yeah, I'd probably not. You're right. He probably doesn't have like that hate. That's for sure.
like Devora's got a really bad name among the lore crowd because of all the Jared shit, and a million other reasons.
Yeah, just constantly killing like classic characters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, when you
Credit for
kill
killing classic characters.
Sort
of.
Melina, Baraka, and Scorpion, yeah, you're gonna get some street cred that's not so nice.
I mean, Scorpion's one thing, but Baraka, who the fuck does she think she is?
Which is funny because that was probably the least upsetting to most people. But that's where you draw the line. I get it.
How dare she?
You're very
I
protective of
cannot-
Baraka.
I cannot wait for like the next Black Dragon newcomer to show up and like murder half the cast. And this is NRS going, "Hey kids, this guy's really cool. Yeah, look how dangerous they are."
Or they just make Devora
Uh,
Black Dragon. I mean, why not,
Oh
right?
gosh.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, gross is right.
We need to
Everything in that
lessen-
sentence was gross.
Yeah, we need to lessen the Black Dragon. We don't need any more.
Are there even any Black Dragon characters on my list? I don't think there
Isn't
are.
Aaron Black like technically Black Dragon?
Oh,
No, that
son of
doesn't
a
count.
fucking
He's not.
shit.
That's bullshit.
I'm just saying, man.
Look, let's specify that MKX Aaron Black and MK11 Aaron Black are two separate characters. They barely have anything in common.
MK12 Kotal Khan's going Black Dragon.
That'd be funny, actually. I wouldn't even hate that. He'd be my favorite Black Dragon member.
I literally put almost all of the Black Dragons on my roster.
Fantastic Cage of Black Dragon. Why not?
Or
Still
Bo.
more interesting than Special Forces character.
Or Kintaro.
Yeah. All right.
Ah,
Shad, you're up, sir.
you sure you really want to do this?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're doing it.
All right.
I don't see you
Like-
getting as much heat as I got. I got quite a bit of heat, so.
Okay, this kind of comes from a weird place because on the other hand, okay, on the one hand, you want a roster that, according to me, will make people happy, but you also want a roster that I want, and those two concepts probably aren't compatible. Probably no simpatico. So I
Well-
tried my best to compromise.
Sure.
First off, go over to Razor's list, copy paste the first 4 names into
Alrighty.
mine.
He's like a mob boss now. Here's what I want you to do.
Gabagool. I don't know why I started
We're gonna
doing
make
that.
him an offer that he can't refuse.
If you know what's good for you, you're gonna copy the first one.
I'll mention that I don't particularly care whether or not that like you have premier skins, but it's
Sure.
a cool idea, so why the
Yeah,
hell
this
not?
is a nice roster you got here. Be a shame if anything happened.
You happen to it.
All
All
I'm
right.
just gonna take that list for myself. You can go again.
All right, go back over to Razor's list. Copy paste everything from Johnny Cage down to Jax. Yep. Okay. I don't think I should have to justify any of these characters. Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Raiden, Liu Kang, Johnny Cage, Sonya, Jax. Fine. Cool.
K1 for the
We're
most
good.
part, yeah. A dash of MK.
Yeah, you'll notice someone's missing. So I'm going to assume that, for this, we're going to do what MK9 did, but better. Which is, yes, we're going to reboot, but we're going to actually tell a story a different way, in that Outworld actually wins, rather than introducing a bunch of idiotic time travel goop. And, we're going to play a kind of a fugitive scenario. Our heroes are going to kind of be on the run.
Okay.
I mean, I haven't actually gone over the entire thing in my head, but the way I see it, Kano's not making it off of Shang Tsung's island. He's the
Okay.
first one to go down.
Yes, that's good. It's a good start.
So let's see. We have Reptile, Shang Tsung, Katana, Melina, Raka.
Oh, am I supposed to be listing these?
No. Just go back over.
Okay.
Go back over. Copy paste Reptile, Shang Tsung, Katana, Melina, Baraka.
Alrighty.
Smoke,
Get
Yeah,
Smoke
just
as
keep going.
well. Yeah.
Oak, Jade, Noob Saibot. All those people are
Smoke, Jade, Noob, Saibot. All right, so we
All
got
those
some MK1, MK2 action going on.
Again, there's about one particular noticeable face missing. That's Kung Lao. Because this guy, in my telling, he doesn't fucking make it. It doesn't happen. He doesn't get to the island. He fucking dies. And
As is typical for him.
I hate to say it, I hate to do it, but I haven't actually enjoyed this character since like 2002 now. I'm tired of him. I want him to go. I want him to go away. I really do. I have not enjoyed him since Deadly Alliance. Kung Lao doesn't exist to me anymore. There's just some sort of angry Vegeta knockoff, as far as I'm concerned. So who else we got? Smoke Noob. Okay, add Kintaro.
All right.
Should have been
Yep,
me,
he's-
Liu Kang.
Hmm?
It should have been me.
Oh, it is you. You're fucking dead. Add Kintaro. Add Cyrax. Sector.
Alrighty.
Add Nightwolf. Pretty much at this point, who am I missing from the classic roster? I'm missing Cabal, I'm missing Shao Kahn, I'm missing Sindel, I'm missing Rain, and Striker and Shiva, and none of those people are going to be in my telling of the game. Either because I'm tired of them, or because I think that they could use them. I just have never been crazy about them, or because the story, in this case, doesn't require them to be present. Again, I haven't really decided like how things would go about, but I think that on the cusp of Shao Kahn winning the 10th tournament and starting the invasion, this is where the crazy shit happens. This is where Shinnok activates sleeper agents and goes, "Nice world you got here. Be a shame if something happened to it." Because before he wanted to destroy everything, he wanted Earth for himself.
Yeah,
So I don't know. He activates like a sleeper agent like Noob Saibot or something, and he ganks Khan while this whole process is going on. So Shao Kahn's not in my roster list. The whole Sindel thing never happens, so they're completely gone. They're absent.
Okay.
Also, I don't want to touch Shao Kahn or Sindel right now, the 20-foot pole like we were talking about earlier. I don't need it. Rain's not present because, again, he's been in basically two of the last 3 games as DLC. One is an unplayable cameo, frustrating. I'm ready for him to take a vacation. Same with Scarlet. I miss Striker, Shiva, but not everyone needs to be present. Over to the interesting post MK3 / everything after that period of things. Did I say Cyrax, Sector, Nightwolf? Right. Tremor. Tremor
Okay.
is like probably one of the very few Black Dragon characters I would have kicking around. Interesting to see what he could do. Maybe basically have him take Jarek's place in this post-apocalyptic world.
Hmm.
Kai. Kai needs to be present. Kai needs to be present because in my telling of things, Liu Kang has had the fight of his life with Goro. It comes close. I've always believed it came really close. But he loses. And then he loses Kung Lao. He needs a buddy. He needs his old friend. I think that Kai has a very important role to play. Or in any just or sane world always did. But again, what we were saying about potential.
Mm-hmm.
So Kai should be present. After that, we have Reiko, Serena,
Okay.
Quan Chi. Probably a pretty heavy Brotherhood of the Shadow presence in this telling of mine. Like, I've always thought that they needed to be seen together as kind of an entity, the way that Khan's goons tend to be.
Yeah.
You know? We don't really get a lot of that. We don't like to see the Brotherhood of the Shadow en masse. So I believe we're at 25 people now. Yeah, I have 3 more.
Yep.
So things are probably going to go off the rails here a little bit. Fujin, of course.
Okay.
Where Shinnok and the Brotherhood are concerned, I'm going to just go ahead and steal the plot angle from Battle of the Realms and incorporate the Kamidogu. And where the Kamidogu are concerned, so too is Shujinko. And that's my number 27. I'd bring him in.
Did I
we're
miss?
missing one.
Did I miss
We're
Shinnok?
missing one.
Nope,
Shinnok in there?
Shinnok is... Oh wait, did I actually...
You still got a slot empty.
Did I?
You got a slot
Okay.
and you got a pre-order.
I must have accidentally deleted someone. Jade, Smoke, Melina, Baraka, Reptile, Kentaro, Cyrax, Sector, Nightwolf, Tremor, Kai, Reiko, Serena, Quan Chi.
Man, there's like a pokey rap that we could do out of this, I think.
There's someone... I fucked this up. There's someone missing. Isn't there? Yeah, I'm gonna go down the whole thing again.
Okay.
Liu Kang, Raiden, Johnny Cage, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Sonya, Goro, Shang Tsung,
You don't have
Jack.
Goro's not
Goro.
on here.
I
Yeah,
didn't.
you
I
don't have
didn't.
Goro.
Did I not ask Goro? Okay,
Nope.
that's where I missed it. Goro has to be in it. Obviously, Goro has to be
Okay.
in it.
Okay.
Okay, so we missed him while we were copying and pasting. And yes, my pre-order bonus is Shinnok. He's the main character. He's like the main bad for the
Ah,
duration of this.
you broke the chain.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I understand the logic in having Kintaro be the pre-order bonus. I think it's a good choice, but I just want the fucking guy to make main roster for once in his
Thank you, Cyborg.
goddamned life.
Well,
Shinnok does live.
your
And I think
reasons
that-
are sound, right? Well,
And
go
I think
on,
that I think that in the day and age we live in now, Shinnok, after his like revival and successful makeover and amplification in X, makes for an excellent pre-order candidate.
Yeah, I mean, this is purely an OCD criticism. It's just the Excel sheet I have a problem with, right? So, no, your reasons are sound. It's just, I did want to comment on Shujinko. Shujinko was in deep competition with Astra on my list, but if I'm going by observed fandom, Astra beats out Shujinko, unfortunately. I would have rather had Shujinko myself. I just do not see.
You didn't include
This was
Shujinko in your own list?
I did not know.
Dude, just don't ever ask for
I mean, I like Ashra too, but this is a list where I'm cutting at people that I actually really enjoy, like, believe it or not, Cabal. So, yeah, some people are just going to take a shot, some people are going to take a step back, and I'm going to give people a bit of a chance to shine that I actually think deserve it.
Yeah,
I don't
we all
think that
took
Ashra
it,
does, but I always thought that Shujinko got an especially bad rap. I don't like how people reacted to him. It's not just that he was, like, a copycat. A lot of people just hated him for how stupid he came off as. And yeah, there's a little bit of that, but I always thought that
Yes,
the pros put Shujinko
Tamashi, I
out.
will do as you ask.
Yeah, he was really put upon. He thought he was on a sacred mission. He thought he was someone special. And he had a quest, and he's a broken man by the end of it. And I always I found that really sympathetic. I like Shujinko, and I always
See,
have.
that's the broken part is what makes him interesting. I don't need every protagonist to be smart. Like if you in Demon Slayer, Tanjiro is not particularly smart, right? Like he doesn't know trains exist. So like I don't mind like a low IQ protagonist. The broken part is what makes him interesting. It's that I was deceived and I had to make up for that. That's the arc I appreciate with Jinko. And like I said, I would have loved to have had him on my list, but I was trying to make as many people happy as possible, and I just don't see the outcry for Shujinko. But I love the character though.
Sometimes you gotta make other people happy, and sometimes you gotta make yourself happy. That's all I can say.
Well,
I
I
also
think,
would like to.
yeah.
I'd also would like to put forward that in this scenario, Otaro is an unplayable sub boss, and an unplayable major boss character is Onaga, the One Being. Things really kind of spiral out of control towards the end of my story.
Alrighty. I mean, that sounds
Alright.
fun.
Thank you. I
I liked
realize
it.
it's very, very kind of trilogy heavy. I hope it's not the most boring roster, but I think there's a nice balance there between expected trilogy era characters, some unloved MK4 and later period dudes, and my DLC is, I think, going to make a nice rounded out. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I just love the story idea that you have of like, what if Outworld won and then the heroes are on the run? Like, I think that in itself is pretty awesome. And then I like seeing more Brotherhood of the Shadow get some attention because they don't.
I always figured if you were gonna do like an Elseworlds, that is the first idea that should be lined up.
Right.
Is like, what if Kung Lao made it to the final round of the tournament and Outworld won the tournament because it's Kung Lao.
Right.
Great. Now
Like,
I
what
have
if-
reasons to actually put him in.
Or
Wonderful.
really anyone but Liu Kang. But Kung Lao seems like the one. Like if you
Kung Lao can
continued
die
off
in the
from
intro
12,
like Liu Kang did. You don't have to put him in the game. It's
like if you continued off from 11, like Liu Kang can't fight because he's in the Raiden spot now. He has to pick a champion. He'd probably pick Kung Lao, and Kung Lao would fuck it up.
yeah. I think that would be an awesome intro, honestly, and a nice callback to Deadly Alliance is if you had the intro to your game, Shad, be like, we're going back to the first tournament and they lose, and that's the opening intro as we see Kung Lao make it to the finals against Khan and he dies.
Yeah, and I mean, in terms of
or
newness,
Shang Tsung or whatever. But
like MK2 doesn't happen and MK3 doesn't happen. Everything after that is, different.
yeah, completely new
I mean,
diversion from the timeline.
it is similar to 3 in that you're fighting against an invasion, but it doesn't have the easy out of, well, if we just the elder gods are on our side because he's cheating.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that would be pretty damn badass.
I mean, I used to run over these kind of scenarios all the time in my head. Like, what would happen if Our had won this or that? Like, what would happen if the Great Kung Lao was never actually great? And way back in the day, they lost like 10 tournaments or what have you. Like, what kind of versions of Raiden, Johnny, and Sonya would be born into a world like that? Even that's
Anos.
Anos, Con Jalton, Ook Lang. All right.
Alrighty, well, Razor, let's go back to your DLC here.
All right.
And
So
okay, so we got your roster here, which is mainly a
Yeah.
retelling
Yeah.
of the kind of laying the groundwork, like you said, which was going to be more trilogy focused. So
right.
kick us off with
So
some DLC.
so the first thing I want to lay down, you don't have to write this down anywhere, is my DLC, like I said, would come with a story mode, and that story mode would be MK3.
Okay.
So you're going to get Motaro as an unplayable boss. And
5.
and one of the reasons, like, I think Motaro has to be unplayable because for him to function properly, he has to be like immune to supers and things like that. Like, we're not gonna get like just to take the load off NRS to make it to make more juice worth the squeeze in
Mhm.
terms of making a Motaro. Just like you don't have to model a skeleton. There's not gonna be X-rays when you're fighting Motaro. There's not gonna
Like,
be fatalities when you're fighting Motaro. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
I would take it for granted that if Motaro were to ever come back, he would not be playable. I just
Yeah,
would like to
yeah.
be able to fight against the guy. That's all I ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd like to have a challenge tower mode and add a bunch of missions to do more stuff with Motaro where you fight against him. I think that would be fun.
Or like
But he would
he's your buddy in one of the things, like you can tag out, but it's the AI.
yeah,
There's
something
like a
like
buddy
that.
cop film or something.
There's all kinds of things you could like the MK9 challenge tower was the most gameplay creative they ever got within the fighting game structure, and I wish they do some of those like little mini games again, like where the
Yeah.
Tarkatan horde is coming towards you and all you can do is projectiles, that kind of
Right.
thing. Um, the other thing is that uh what was I gonna say just now? Oh fuck, right. So what another thing I wanted to have was like the conquest style training mode from Deadly Alliance
Mm-hmm.
and go through everybody's like backstories. So I would have liked to have Fujin, Serena, and Quan Chi on here for the Sub-Zero one and stuff like that. And I just couldn't squeeze them in. Like it got real tight when it came to DLC.
Right.
And also, there are 3 names on this who were DLC in the previous game. And if that bothers you, just switch them with Jade, Noob Saibot, and Ermac. Okay? It doesn't bother me. I don't care about paying for the same characters twice,
Right.
because at the end of the day, if you want the full roster, you're going to spend the same amount of money anyway. So it doesn't
Yeah.
matter which characters are in what order, which ones are starting and which ones are DLC. You're still spending the same money to get a full roster.
From a
But
financial standpoint, yeah.
yeah, but if you're like Ed Boon and you are bothered by paying for a character separately 2 games in a row, just switch 3 of these names with Jade, Noob, and Ermac. Anyway, the first name on my list is Cabal,
Okay.
and he will have an unscarred premiere skin.
So is he going to be like your first DLC character you announce? I don't know if you
Yeah.
went that far. Okay. So usually they like announce it before the game even comes out. At least they did with Shang. They were like, okay, Shang's coming, basically. Everyone chill the fuck out. So he's going to be kind of like your
Yeah, I mean,
leading the pack.
Cabal, like 11 hurt his image somewhat, but he's still remembered fondly in the tournament scene as, the high tier gameplay guy. So I'd be putting out a trailer and you'd see some of those 9 moves and you'd see this guy's gonna be fucking broken again.
Pay to win.
A little. We could tone him down a little. We could balance patch that shit, but I want him to jump in gas blasts in the
Sure.
trailer.
There you go. Got the
Next
spins.
is Nightwolf,
Okay.
and then Striker.
Oh, what the heck happened there?
Hmm.
I don't understand.
Weird.
Yeah, I don't know why it's doing it. Let's try.
Do you have the colors set to black background?
Here, let's just do that. I don't know. I was just pressing enter. Weird, but we're good.
Not let
All
you
right.
enter Nightwolf unless female.
Yeah.
Retcon mandatory.
So Striker,
Okay.
Sindel, and Shiva are the next 3.
Alrighty.
All right, and the last one, obviously, real tight squeeze. If I'm doing trilogy, people are gonna want one of the chameleons. I really would have liked to fit them in there. I really wanted Scarlet, but it was so, it's sort of competitive for that last spot because there's only so many you can have.
Sure.
And I picked Kenshi
Okay.
because he got his powers before MK1.
Mm-hmm.
And you can excuse him not making it to the 10th tournament because he's blind. He was with Shujinko and Shujinko didn't show up, so he missed the boat. Whatever excuse. But if Kenshi had existed, like if in the real world they had created him before Deadly Alliance, if he was around for MK3,
Right.
there's no reason logically that he shouldn't be one of Raiden's chosen ones.
Okay.
Because he has superpowers and he's from Earthrealm.
Right. And you said
So-
that these picks, there's going to be a story DLC that's
Yes,
MK3 focused. Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
And then you could Scarlet, I think, can appear as an NPC. She's definitely factors in. She's on the main roster of my next game.
Right.
Quan Chi appears in the story, but in the original timeline, it would have been like he's in the background in silhouette. You never really he helped raise Sindel from the grave, but there's no reason he should fight anybody during the first 3 games. So,
Right.
NPCs handle that. I really wanted the chameleons. If we got a second season, they're definitely the first one on
Yeah.
up. But if not, you could do them as premier skins for all the ninjas, like I did with Meat.
Interesting. Okay. That'd be an interesting.
And
approach.
another the last thing I wanted to have but can't fit is Hydro as a blue cyborg, so that they're
Nice.
never tempted to do Cyber Sub again.
Yeah.
And you can have him in the game unplayable as he's the dummy you fight in training mode.
Right.
If you can't fit him onto the roster, you
Sure.
could still get his the appearance of a light blue cyborg in there.
Okay. Cool.
And that's what I got. And
Cyber
again,
reptile.
the too much familiarity. Where are all the 3D era characters? I promise you, the next 3 games in a row would be primarily 3D era characters.
Right.
Because the sequels to this are retelling for Deadly Alliance, Deception, and Armageddon.
Alrighty. Yeah, that makes sense to me. That's cool. I like the cohesion.
I also
And-
think, just to make up for the fact I couldn't get Fujin and Serena in there, maybe you could do the Final Fantasy VII thing, where you release the remake, and then the next game was their remaster of Crisis Core. The sequel to this would actually be a remake of Mythologies, and then you do a fighting game.
Interesting. Alrighty. For my DLC, so my biggest weakness with my roster here was I had to cut some very popular characters, like we discussed. So my first DLC, the one that we're gonna show before the game even comes out, to alleviate that feeling of how the fuck did you leave this person out? And that would be Johnny Cage. Right out of the gate, you're getting Johnny Cage's trailer before the game even comes out. It's like, don't worry, guys. Within a month, you're getting your Cage Man. All right. He's going to have a funny ass trailer. We didn't really fit him into the story this time because we wanted basically story wise. What I was thinking is like, I wanted to get away from all the human soldier, the Outworld Protection Agency investigation.
Right.
Like, I wanted to get away from all that. We've had that to the nth degree over the last couple
Yeah,
games.
you don't want any more action scenes where the problem is solved by having a bunch of grunts in helmets with AK-47s.
Right. So I want to go back to the mystical powers and kung fu, like you've been saying. Like, let's get the hell away from at least the soldiery aspects and the very, very like grounded soldier human element. So that's kind of why I took them out of the base roster, because basically I assume, unless you do get the aftermath type of DLC like approach you're going with, if you take them out and you just have them as DLC, they don't have to fit the story. Who gives a fuck? So in this case, starting off with Johnny, that's going to get people raving. Like, they're going to laugh. They're going to have a great time, like we all did when we saw the Johnny Cage trailer for MK11. It's going to be
What you
great.
could also do with that is like the trailer could just be him complaining about how he wasn't in the base roster. That could be the opening of the trailer.
Yes.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Is fucking great. I love that idea. Yes.
He's on the cell phone with his agent. What do you mean they're leaving me?
Oh
Like
my God.
this, all of this is him actually looking at the roster screen. Like he's pointing at the one by one. The fuck? Picks up the cell phone, starts calling his agent. You seen this shit?
Oh
Come
my
on!
God.
He has a copy of the game in the background showing the select screen without him, and he's just yelling into his phone. Yeah, that'd be great.
I best be getting paid. So yeah, that is a wonderful add on to that idea. But yes, my thought process was right out of the gate, lead with the character that everybody was probably most bummed didn't make the initial roster, so that way you alleviate it, kind of like Shang Tsung in the last one. But yeah, there's a lot of fun potential you can do with Johnny Cage, and I feel like if you deliver them within that first month, which is when the first one usually comes out, somewhere around there, like as long as you get them to people quick, they're not going to complain too much. So that being said, continuing that theme, next is Raiden. So as much as I want him to be out of the whoa, what is happening?
Dark Raiden is what's happening.
I don't know what's happening. But yes. So the same kind of concept here is, right? Like, I had to leave Raiden out of the initial roster, but I also acknowledge that he is one of like the top most popular characters in the series and one of the most recognizable characters in the series. But it's okay if he misses story mode this time. So let's just put him in as DLC, second out of the gate, right behind Johnny Cage. That way, once again, you're going to make so many people happy, and you can have a badass trailer for his reveal, because Raiden makes for a good trailer once again with his awesome powers, and you can do cool shit there. Continuing that trend, third out of the gate, Noob Saibot. I don't want to see him sit out another game right after, just being back for the first time again. So once again, makes a great trailer, is going to sell like hotcakes. So Johnny Cage, Raiden, Noob Saibot, take our money right now. They're going to sell fucking huge. Continuing that trend. Okay, so then after the initial 3 bombshells of like meeting fan demands, we're going to kind of continue at maybe a slight downgrade, but that's Jade. Once again, she's kind of in that boat where I think she's going to sell really well, make for an awesome trailer, but just couldn't quite make the cut in this case. And also, once again, got to have some female representation here in the DLC. So I went with Jade. It was between her and Sonya, and I just, I if they do some story related stuff, when I was considering putting Cage on the roster, it was, what if Cage made the game without Sonya for once? Like, let him just be himself and play off other characters and just kind of breathe without Sonya, without Cassie. So Sonya's not making it this time, but we do have Jade, who's got the cool factor and completes the female trifecta, the original ninjas of Katana and Melina, so on and so forth.
She's also the bombshell character who, like, if you want to sell DLC, like Capcom has shown just how powerful it is to have a fan service character in the DLC season.
Absolutely.
So that's money.
That's entirely
my fan service character is Shiva. We're going back to the MK3 look.
Of course.
Yeah. I mean, MK3 Shiva has a cute face.
She's got like those high supermodel cheekbones. I don't know why they keep making her
Yeah.
look ugly.
Yeah, I don't get it either.
That was the entire point of her. She was like life, like a ballerina, like a really physically fit, agile,
like
slender,
a 7-foot
long.
tall, ripped as shit ballerina.
Like
Right.
she never seemed really like muscular to me to the
Yeah.
degree that like 11 portrayed her as, or worse,
Yeah, no,
Armageddon.
they made her like more thick. Like she should be like thin, but super ripped. Like the very visible muscle. She's cut, but she's not like big.
Athletic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thinned out for sure. That's how she was definitely in
More
in
like
MK3.
a track athlete than a power lifter.
Exactly.
Much like She-Hulk is kind of portrayed, like outside of when they like really hulked her out.
Yeah.
Um okay, so continuing along with this, I acknowledge what Temp said. I mean, I swear I've not changed my DLC at all since we've started talking. This is what I originally went with. But next up was Quan Chi. Same logic. I think visually he makes for a great trailer. He's got some really cool necromancer shit that he can throw out there. He's going to make a really cool looking character, and he sat out of the last game. So let's get Quan Chi in there. It's going to please a lot of fans that were wondering, when he's going to show up. He sat out from the main game, and I have him later in the DLC schedule release. So he's not going to be for a few months, maybe a year after release. So it's not like Quan Chi again. I feel like that's going to be just long enough to kind of really capitalize on that appetite that's going to start popping up for him, and hopefully they do him well. And then last but certainly not least, I had Jax, because now that we've had like that soldier stuff out of there for that entire time, let's bring in Jax. He's got some cool shit, and once again, he'll make a sweet trailer, come out smoking a cigar, fucking punching people's faces in, do some cool combo grappler shit, and let's get Jax into the fold. So yeah, all popular characters, all like very big fan bases for these characters, and they're all gonna sell. I don't think there's like any of them that are like being carried by the others. I think my whole logic was these are characters that, outside of maybe Jade and of course Noob, these are like Raiden, Johnny Cage, Quan Chi, Jax, like they're in so many games. So it's time for them to be the ones that people can wait for DLC, while they can kind of have their fun early on with the characters that they haven't seen in so long. And then after they've waited, a few more years for these characters, 4 years since MK11, then you add on a year DLC for some of them, that appetite will be even higher for them. So that's kind of where I went with my DLC. Is it's the characters you wouldn't really expect to be DLC mixed with some really big fan favorites, rounding out the roster ultimately. And I believe that takes us to Temp.
All right. My first DLC character is actually Kung Lao. Because I think a lot of people are going to be like, "Where's Kung Lao?" I had no intention of playing Kung Lao. I don't actually care about Kung Lao, but where's Kung Lao, right? And he's going to be sort of like I would picture his trailer like showing a fight in the courtyard, and Kung Lao is one of the guards in the background and rips his mask off. That's how I would do his trailer. I think that could be really cool for first impressions. And as much as I don't like the 2021 film, I think Kung Lao was bar none the best part of that movie.
Next to
So,
Kano, yeah.
Yeah, maybe Kano, yeah.
Well, I mean, Kano is Kano. That's the only problem. You're not wrong, but it's like Kano, right?
Inherently
Yeah.
damaged goods.
Inherently Kano.
The only reason Kano's so funny is because they had to have a funny guy and they left Johnny Cage out.
Yeah.
Yeah. A good actor, though. I'll give him that. That's my first choice. Kind of boring. Next is Sector.
Nice.
And I think it's like if I was a greedy corporate piece of shit, I'm gonna be like, people are gonna be bothered if you don't have both cyborgs on the select screen. So people are gonna buy Sector even if they don't like Sector, just so like Cyrax and Sector look normal when you boot the game up. That's kind of my strategy there. Next is Cabal. That way they hopefully can't fuck up his story. As a matter of fact, my DLC story mode is going to be like puzzle combat or chess combat. It's going to be combat poker. and it's just gonna be the DLC characters playing poker. That's gonna be the story mode. But like, it's not like a story. You're actually like, you have a hand and you can actually bet, right?
Literally a poker minigame.
Oh yes, no, 100%. And none of it's canon. It's great. So, and Cabal is a great. I mean, I didn't like his MK11 gameplay, but I know what Cabal's capable of, and I do think, from a story perspective, he is a top 5 character to me. If we're going purely on the classic lore, which is why it hurts so bad to see what they've done to him all these years, right? But I think he is still a great character when done properly, which happened once in history.
Yeah, he's been in 5 games and he only has the proper story in one of them.
Yes. Oh, I am crying. After that, we have
Is there a proper
Takeda.
story, or is there just a series of contradictory events? And there's just one that we prefer.
I mean, 9 and 11 literally retell it. So there's clearly one. I mean, Deception is, its own separate thing. I'm just saying, like, in
Cabal
terms of
a character, or is he more of a state of mind?
what even is this character? Like, the
sorry.
origin is the problem.
I'm sorry. Did you say Kano?
No. I said Takeda.
Oh God! I sat through both of them talking.
Dude, no,
like
the Cassie Cage was legit, but I would not put Kano on my list. I do not think he's popular. And I love my friends who love Kano, and my heart goes out to them, but he is not on my list. I think Takeda actually is a lot. Yeah.
All the Randys out there.
This is karma for all his Aegis setups with Urian. So yeah, and you'll notice a pattern here, right? We're representing a lot of different eras here, and a lot of different character types. Which brings me to my next character, Reiko. This was not an easy choice. I'll be honest with you, I'm not the biggest Reiko guy. I think it's cool. I think it's alright. I think it's okay. But yes, I don't have a huge emotional reaction to Reiko. What's up?
I love MK4 Reiko. I think his moveset would actually fit into the arcade era.
Yeah.
What's super ironic about Reiko is me and Reiko both have the same like graying temples. Like we both have like the dark hair and the white sideburns.
The Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah, I got that. Like I basically look exactly like Mr. Fantastic. I just want to say it pretty much with a bad receding hairline. Anyway, so
let's say that Reiko would fit really well into the arcade era, which includes 1 through 4.
Well,
which
yes,
was an arcade game.
4 was an arcade game. I mean that,
we know what he means.
4 played like shit.
yeah, it had problems. Maybe if you could fix the balance issues, we could have kind of like a renewal of 4.
I'm just saying, like the shuriken ring and the dislocate your hip to do a backflip kick, and the stolen Noob Saibot teleport.
That's because MK4. I mean, obviously, it was still in that like 2D to 3D kind of mid step, and I think a lot of those characters definitely fit in there. Yeah,
I think
it was Ultimate with a sidestep button. All those characters work perfectly well in 2D.
Of the MK4 characters, like obviously, Quan Chi was a work in progress, and Shinnok didn't have moves of his own, and Kai, they tried some things and they didn't work. And then there's Jarek. But Tanya and Reiko both feel like they could have come from previous games and fit right in.
Yeah,
it's really kind of. Yeah, it's honestly like if you look at the characters that did make it on to be in more games than just the one that they debuted in, like beyond Armageddon, of course, as we always say. But like the Kenshi or Bo Raicho or Lee Mei or Tanya, like Reiko just feels like he should have been, don't you think? Yeah. It's weird that he hasn't been back.
I feel like he's probably been considered for a lot of things, and obviously there was that incident with Tam with the developer family death threats.
Oh God, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons we haven't seen him in a little while. But prior to that, I've always felt that he's been on the peripheral, always a bridesmaid, never a bride.
Right.
Well,
I think they like him too.
Oh, it's kind of a dark segue, but like, I think my favorite thing about Reiko is the fact that his fans kept fighting for the character. Now, sometimes too much, right? But like, they never gave up. Like, and it was hard because I like Kai better as a character. And I think Kai genuinely should come back. But the Kai fan base did not put in the work. Not the same work that the Fujin fan base put in. Not
Oh,
the
trust
same
me,
work
you are
that the,
preaching to the choir. I hate when people give up on their character. Like, it just fucking drives me insane.
I
Really
know
is
it's
time-
horrible.
It really is time for Reiko to come back because Armageddon gave us this hint of like someone who was working for Khan as a general who was actually, get this, a military tactician first and foremost. You know? I love that about him. That should be his angle. They should
Yeah.
highlight that whenever they bring him back.
Comic was good for him, I think.
It was. It really was.
But I
He's
think
still
even if you
brilliant
take
there
away-
too.
Well, even without the comic, though, like the Reiko fans were pushing and they were pushing and they were pushing. And he's been in as just as many games as Kai, which is why I had to give it to Reiko. Even though I think Kai is really, in at least a gameplay perspective, the more interesting character. But I mean, let's be real, though. I think Reiko is significantly more important to the lore anyway, or at least potentially. He has that capacity to be very important in a way that Kai, I don't see happening. I mean, Kai is protagonist material, but I don't think they'll ever do that. So I'm giving it to Reiko. And my final choice is not just a DLC character, but it's the DLC character, which is Rain. So he's gonna round up my DLC.
You are just-
Again?
Yes.
Again, man?
Wow.
It
You
is
just want to
every
because,
make
time.
him Mr. DLC.
Every
I get it.
time.
as a matter of fact, I'm going to make Rain DLC for every game that comes out from Mortal Kombat from now forever. Mostly because I think Rain fans are just petty and entitled, and I get tired of hearing them complain whenever they don't get their way. Even though he's been in MK9, and he's been in MK11, so I don't think they're in a position to complain anymore. But if they want their character,
You can wait
put
a
that
year
money in
and
my
a half. Put that shit in my hand.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people did not get their favorite characters in 11, so I do not think they're in a position to complain anymore. Yeah,
Rain is more important to the story of MKX, a game that he's not in, than Kung Lao.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
My
I mean,
only nitpick here is
Yeah.
like if you were selling this to me right now, I would probably lead with Reiko, and everything else looks good. Like Sector second, but Reiko first. Like I don't need Kung
Okay,
Lao like within a month of that game. Like I can wait for fucking Kung Lao. He can come out second to last. Make Rain last. I like your logic there of fuck.
Make
like
them
those-
wait.
Yeah, make them wait. But Kung Lao fans, I mean, Kung Lao's been in so many things. He can wait too. Like let's get some fan service right out of the gate with Reiko and Sector.
My logic with Kung Lao, opening with Kung Lao, that's the character for Little Joey. Little Joey knows who Kung Lao is. You know, I don't know if he's going to know who Takeda or who Reiko is. Right? That's the
Sure.
only reason why I went with Lao first.
Yeah.
And I do like Rain, and don't get me wrong, like I'm half playing with the Rain fans, but as a Smoke fan, it is very hard to have any sympathy for Rain fans at all, right? So they
Yeah,
can hold
fuck
that.
you guys.
I mean, I think I've gotten to the point where, like, I mean, we got to be at the point where, like, as a Cyrax fan, I could start having some complaints, right?
I think Cyrax
Am I
fans
at
have
that
many
threshold?
reasons to complain.
Am I at that
Yeah, I think
threshold? Like, have I waited
I
long
think
enough?
Cyrax
Finally?
has been well, even
When your
without the
character
waiting,
is
just-
in, when your character is baked into the game, moveset and everything, and you just can't play as him because fuck you, yeah, you can be a little bit upset. Also, considering that the game before that, he was a fighting style.
and then before that, he was one of the only ones that lived from MK9, and he still got left out.
as a
God
matter of fact,
damn it!
I think Cyrax fans have had it worse than Smoke because I haven't been forced to watch Smoke kill himself like in several different
Oh my
mediums, right?
god! PTSD.
So yeah. So
I
no,
don't know.
Cyrax is
I
yeah.
watched MK11 on bated breath when he's like, I'll just sacrifice myself again, and Sub-Zero's
I
like,
guess I'll just die then.
Sub-Zero's like,
it was
no,
fun.
you don't have to do that. And then he's like,
Not even,
but I
like,
must.
Play
See, you know, like,
as
I think that Razor and I were about to say this together, but, like, that scene was basically written for Sub-Zero's friend who got turned into a robot. So even when I'm watching Cyrax kill himself, I'm still watching Smoke kill himself.
So in 11, it's not even like a dramatic suicide. He just walks over to the wall casually, pulls a tube, and falls to the ground, and everybody's like, "Okay, well, we're done here."
Did
Oh,
they?
well.
Well, to be fair, so they do sort of imply that Sub's going to bring him back, right?
Yeah,
Like, so
I hope
kind
so.
of see it. It's almost like don't worry, Cyrax. After you kill yourself, I'll totally bring you back from the dead. There's no way Chronica's going to reset everything. There's no way Liu Kang
It
is
seems
going to
like
reset.
a weird thing to assume you can pull off.
Oh, it was deeply irresponsible. I agree.
Well, I mean, before that, I mean, the fact that it was irresponsible, I mean, fucking Cyrax didn't even expect or want to be brought back.
Look,
That's what
if
always
I-
pisses me off. Is like this guy, like, just genuinely does not want to live. He's like, nah, don't worry about bringing me back. No, it's an easy process. It would take less. Please, just let me die.
I'm just saying, like, if someone was like, "Kill yourself," it's cool. We'll bring you back right after. I'd be like, "How though?"
So the point where he should be saying YOLO lol when he does a self-destruct. Really.
Yeah, it's like they took his
Suicide is kind of his jag.
It's like they're like, oh, that was his classic fatality. So let's just, in every time he's brought into the story, let's just have him just decide to fucking.
Like, I don't mean to kink shame, but this is David Carradine tier.
Jesus.
Oh man.
How
will
do
say,
you
though, I
do,
think,
fellow kids? You know what is cool? Killing yourself. Boop, boop, boop.
Instead of screw you, he'll just start saying screw me.
Oh man. Well, I will say he had one of the best voice performances in MK11. I thought I really liked his actor a lot.
Yeah, I don't even want to like fucking get my hopes up again. It's just, I don't even know anymore, man.
But yeah, if you look at my list though, basically the themes are a classic MK2 character, Kung Lao, a classic MK3 character, Cabal, a classic MK4 character, Reiko, one cyborg ninja, Sector, and one human ninja, Rain. So
Sure.
I tried to cover as many categories as I could with this. It's a shame. Probably my only regret for the DLC is I couldn't get a 3D era character on there. But like, yeah, that's a next time.
I mean, I still count MK4, but I know not everybody agrees with that.
I personally don't, but I see both sides.
They're
Yeah,
neglected
it's
enough,
very
but, yeah.
much in between the two because it
Yeah.
is literally a game made of polygonal graphics, but it also released for the arcades.
I feel like it needs to be at least in one pool because then it's just even more sad. Makes MK4 even feel more forgotten. I feel like
Yeah,
it's just in between eras.
Yeah,
No,
it's-
it's a classic game to me. It's
Yeah.
arcade era. That's all there is to it. I
Sure.
don't care if it's quasi 3D or not.
Alrighty, Shad, what do you got?
All right, we've heard a couple of these arguments before, but first two out of the bat, off the bat, in the bag,
Out of the gate,
Come-
in the bat.
Cabal and Ermac. Those are the first two. These are for competitive reasons. These can be for lore reasons. They're not so huge characters that we can snip them out of the roster after a few brief storyline appearances. We can bring them in afterwards, you know?
Mhm.
I'd still do things with Ermac afterwards in successive games. I would probably go for that redemption angle again. I'd have him do the face turn, because, we love and we miss our good Ermac. Cabal, I'd probably play relatively straight and, do the MK3 version and right this time. But my logic for those is that, these are two big competitive characters, hugely popular. I wouldn't leave them out for the world. But Ermac himself specifically, I think, is an excellent DLC choice. That guy will sell units.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Next two are deep cut fan favorites. Number one is Chameleon with a K. That's right, I'm doing it.
You're breaking the chain.
I know that Jade, Katana, and Melina are all already in my roster. I don't care. She's not going to play like them. She might have variations, but she's going to be a more grounded Saurian. Maybe she'll have a type of bow, sai, staff, fan thing. I don't know. I'll make up some sort of lovely new, bullshit Zaterran weapon for her. Something satisfying. Number two is for the deep cuts. Number 2 is Havoc. Needs to happen. Needs to be present.
Yeah, it's his
Been
time.
too long.
I think he's become the new Fujin at this point.
You know how like Shinnok was the secret mastermind or whatever bullshit at the end of MK9? That's what Havoc could be this time through. He could be the one setting things in motion, moving chess pieces, knocking over the board behind the scenes, enabling things to go wrong. Because chaos is chaos does, baby. Next up, my next 2. This is purely self-interest, and this is in as much about that as it is about continuing the fine traditions of Mortal Kombat in an era where they're forgotten. I don't care if this will make people happy. I want this to happen. Number 1 is Hydro. Not necessarily a robot either. I'd probably have him be similar to the old Malibu way of things, wherein he uses water before rain ever existed. And yes, he could have a cyber skin as well. You know, something to keep that kind of gameplay presence present, but rain can take a little bit of a break. And the last. Does anyone want to guess?
Are you going to say Doom Guy?
No. Fuck no.
Okay.
Fuck guests.
Okay.
Is it meat? Are we gonna beat the meat?
You're my brother, Razor. I love you. He gets me. Of course it's fucking meat. It's absolutely meat. I've
Fair
always
enough.
maintained he needs to come back as a joke character, you know? You have to have a little bit of fun. MK was never 100% serious doom and gloom. And meat was one of my absolute favorite parts of Armageddon. I know, people now consider him a waste of a roster space, but I don't care. Have a bit of fun with your series. I say this, and I'm the one who shits all over guest characters, but that's for aesthetic and art reasons. Meat is the good kind of fun. He should always have been the Dan Hibiki of Mortal Kombat. You know, in a game like I have here where Kano's not present, maybe he can chuck his bones like Kano chucked his knives. Who knows? I do want to say that as down as I am on Kung Lao, that's because I've always liked that character, and I just feel like he's gone downhill for the longest time. And in a successive game that takes place after Outworld, wins the tournaments and Earth is overrun, whatever, I would eventually work to have Kung Lao be rehabilitated, like, as a character in the eyes of the fan base, and as of people like myself, and in the lore as well. I would actually give Kung Lao, like, the forefront roster spot that Deadly Alliance tried to give him and Katana for a little bit. Because I think he does deserve it. But as the way the character stands now, he's damaged goods, and he deserves more than that. I might actually have him contribute to stopping Armageddon in some way, shape, or form. If maybe Taven couldn't do it. We have so many fucking chickens in such a little basket for the eggs. You know?
I think the way you feel about Lao is how I felt about Baraka. I don't personally like Baraka, but he would have been a fantastic DLC character. People would have flipped over Baraka.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have, but I know a lot of people who love that character. And I actually thought he's one of the only characters in the NetherRealm era who's actually better for it, right? Except for, although I do think his blades should always be metal, always. But that aside, though, right? I do know that he would have made a ton of people happy. So it was hard. It was hard putting Lao instead of Baraka. So I have a similar situation.
My man. All right, I guess that's pretty much it. Yeah, I really picked Hydro because, like, I feel like we at least need one more round of bringing an old rumor to life.
Yeah.
I think that, like, him and Nimbus Terrafor are like the bottom of the barrel. There's nowhere else to go. I think this is it. I take
Yeah.
either one, to be fair, but since MK11 kind of acknowledged Hydro's existence as, like, a stage hazard, I take it as a hopeful thing. Who knows?
I personally, if I was going that route, I'd go Hornbuckle, but I don't think there's anything wrong with Hydra. I think Hydra's a perfect
Oh yeah, there's Hornbuckle too, but the thing is, I feel like if they ever acknowledged that character, A, he wouldn't be named Hornbuckle, and B,
Just look
he'd
up
be...
the Japanese words for horn and buckle and make that his name.
What just sound like a curse or something? I don't know. I think that what we're really looking for is a character tied to Onaga with green pants. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, to be fair, like I said, if I got a second season, Hydro's right on there. And in the next game, I would canonize a Hornbuckle and Belloc,
Oh
and
man, Belloc.
I think that would wrap it up. Like the only guy left would be Zebron, and yeah.
Yes, Zebron.
I don't even hate Zebron, to be honest with you. I'm all right with
I don't
Zebron.
hate. I just think it's a little difficult to get the furry in the top hat to look like he fits in with the rest of the roster.
I am
I think-
imagining the current roster. I am imagining like so many of the current generation of MK fans listening to this podcast right now and going, "Who the fuck are Belloc and Zebron?"
My
It has been such a
So-
long time.
You know what?
my
Google
lore
exists.
exploration, the best way I would ground Zebron into the series is Johnny Cage gets in a fight with Devora. He gets poisoned and he goes into an hallucination and he sees Zebron. That's how I would do Zebron.
Okay, if Zebron shows up in the forthcoming Johnny Cage animated movie, it is automatically the best adaptation of Mortal Kombat to ever exist, surpassing the '95 film. 3 points. 3. I think that's it for us, isn't it?
Yeah, that
I
is. I
think
believe so. All right. Well, awesome, everybody. I loved the themes that everybody had, and I was just very, very intrigued by the logic everybody put into their list. I think we all kind of have something, a different approach, but there's a lot of repeated characters between our lists, so that's cool, and our own unique spins on everything. So, that being said, thanks everybody for tuning in, and hopefully you enjoyed this episode of the Nethercast.
Anyone got anything else to say before we sign off?
No, I'm good. I mean,
I do. But have a good night,
But-
everyone.
that's fine.
Take care, everybody.
See you
Later,
later.
nerds.